Hello, and welcome to episode 224 of Flix and a Six, an infinitely more professional production than that of our flick of the week. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me forever and always, the man, the myth, the networking sleuth, Alessandro Biolsi. Say hello, Al.
Don't do anything dumb. Seriously, don't do dumb things.
Great advice that they
Great
should have
advice
taken.
delivered terribly.
On this week's episode, we've got a good chunk of game news, so get excited for that. It's going to basically be Game Bites version of Flix and the Six. We've got some Knives Out 3 news, a little bit of Severance, a little bit of Blade, and I'm sure a boatload of consumption, all before diving into our flick of the week, Madam Web. Be sure to stay tuned after the credits for Acolyte at Night.
There we go.
But first, Al, what are we drinking?
We are drinking a Newburgh beer. It's Newburgh Brewing Company's Rhubarb Pie Summer Saison. Since it's early June, mid-June, it's an appropriate time. This is a collaboration brew with Jones Farm, which is a farm in the town that I went to high school in. And they have their own little bakery shop that's like pretty well known. Like people from even a couple towns over will come and buy stuff from.
Nice.
They make pies and cakes and all that fun stuff. So,
do they have those types of pies where you just float off the ground and follow the steam trail directly to a window?
Before the steam trail does non-consensual acts upon you.
Yeah.
And or the type of pie that gets you all to sing in a Disney-like style. Either way.
Yeah.
Two spectacular pie cutaways / gags, like running bits that Family Guy has done.
Yeah.
Both of them equally great, even though they're both equally terrible, I guess.
Yeah,
anyway, this is a Rhubarb Pie Summer Saison, a bright, tart, bubbly Saison made with local rhubarbs grown by our friends at Jones Farm. Saisons go together like rhubarbs and pie. It's a pint, which we love. It's 5.5% alcohol by volume. As this is one of the collaboration series, it opens us to some alternative can art. Right. We got a farmhouse and a lovely tree and fence.
Is the farmhouse reminiscent of the actual farm?
It's been a while. I have no idea.
Okay.
I just can't recall. And there's a little rooster on there. No robot guy.
Big red cock.
There's a big red cock on this. Some fancy script for the rhubarb pie.
And some very, very subtle birdies.
Yes.
I like the subtle birdies. This beer, notably not brewed with heart.
Oh, it's always brewed with heart.
Their logo is nowhere to be found, but that's fine because it's a collab. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. They have such a nice can art. They've got their kind of sketched style here, and it's really.
I love the green color scale because there's like 5 different shades of green on here, and it's pretty cool. They all seem to go together in harmony.
The sun rays, I feel like, is common on a lot of their other art.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know why that stood out to me. Like, I like vaguely remember that from a few other ones that we've done, but I like this a lot.
It works because it's bright. This beer is bright.
It does. This beer smells fantastic.
Yes, as it should.
I think we should taste it.
Cheers.
Cheers. I missed. I just completely missed.
I flicked it very gently as close to the mic as I could because it is very full, and I didn't want to spill it everywhere. That's
a delight.
It's literally perfect for this time of year.
Yeah.
Especially day like today where it was like warm, but not like hot.
No.
That very edge of spring, summer feel to it.
It was their only spring day. It was, oh man, this is good. Mm-hmm. Newburgh. What are you doing to me?
Only what you wanted to.
Exactly. just taking me away like the steam off of pie.
This rhubarb pie is so much more consensual than anything from Family Guy.
Oh man. Although, all right. First off, taste wise, the tartness is on point. It actually has like the tartness of an apple cider, it's like sweet and delightfully tart, not like punch in the mouth tart.
It's interesting. The rhubarb is pretty subtle, and a lot of times rhubarb goes with strawberry. Strawberry rhubarb pie is common because you want the sweet of the strawberry to balance out the sometimes bitter-ish of the rhubarb. Now, this doesn't have that extra sweet, although the residual sugar they have in for the actual Saison is there. But
exactly, and that helps.
the rhubarb is subtle and not overly bitter, which could have potentially put it out of balance with obviously low hoppage on a saison. So
the rhubarb complements the saison sugars in such a way. All right, I gotta ask. Saisons go together like rhubarbs and pie. Sure, we all know about rhubarb pie.
Mhm.
What we don't know, and I think we might need to travel down a bit of a rabbit hole if you're willing to do the legwork here. Who did this? Who took rhubarb and was like, pie? Have you seen a rhubarb?
I have. They used to grow on. You remember that condo we lived in Vermont? I don't know if you ever.
I do.
Came up or not. I couldn't remember because I was obviously pretty young when we moved out of there.
Yeah.
Wild rhubarb used to grow under the porches, like the back porches of those condos. So,
wild rhubarb would have been a good name for you.
we would occasionally pick it because one of the people who lived in those condos who we talked to would make strawberry rhubarb pie. So, like if we brought the rhubarb, because it was an older lady, if we brought the rhubarb,
you bring the rhubarb, I'll bring the pie.
Yeah, she would make the pie.
All right, give
us like half the pie. So,
but like this, I mean, just to think that somebody decided to do not only once decided I'm going to try to make a pie out of this, but like that it became a thing where like you've heard of rhubarb pie, like you've heard of it, like
yeah,
it doesn't matter if you like pie or not. In your life, if you're I don't know, a person, you've heard of rhubarb pie. And
I just went to look just to double check because I was like, I remember it being red and kind of stalk-like, and yeah, it looks like red celery basically.
It kind of looks like Swiss chard, like red chard.
Well, like the stalk part of it,
yeah,
right? But well, that's what I'm saying because it almost reminds me more of celery, actually.
Yeah, I guess the thickness of it is more.
It's thicker than
but the leaves are chard-like.
Yes. Chard-like?
Get a chart on.
Get a chart. Charred bodies.
Charred bodies.
So bitter. That's been my favorite joke to just throw out on occasion because my parents planted Swiss chard for the first time last year in the garden, and it came back this year. So it's already a fucking gigantic plant.
Okay.
Everything else is tiny. Like nothing else has yielded anything. Like there's some buds and stuff, but nothing else is like been ready to pick, and they've already had like multiple charvists because the plant is so fucking tall. It's like chest high.
That's a lot of chard.
It is.
Chard's good. Chard's
so the answer is someone probably had a celery and like,
too much.
That was inoffensive. This looks like celery. Let me have it. Bitter. Okay. Let me boil it. Bitter. Okay. Let me throw some sugar at it. Tolerable. Let me put something with an actual flavor in there. Okay, now we're doing. So I guess we're just gonna put this in pie sometimes. Just when we have it, when we need to fill it out. You know what I mean?
I can see that being the path to getting the rhubarb in the pie.
Yes,
but then to continue doing it. Well, to continue on,
become tradition.
This rhubarb ruse.
Well, you know what it is. It's the same thing. Strawberry rhubarb pie is the other side of the coin of meatloaf, right? What's meatloaf? Meatloaf's origins were we had some leftover trimmings of meat and fat. We had some leftover like ends of bread. Let's just mash it all together to give it form.
Lasagna, don't get any on you.
It's like, let's not waste any of this. We're not going to eat these things on their own. It's going to be like taste like shit if we don't cook it. Like, let's just throw whatever crap.
So you think it came from a place of non-waste?
Yes.
It's the only reasonable explanation.
I think someone ate rhubarb, was like, this doesn't taste...
No. Yeah.
I think someone ate it, was like, this doesn't taste good, but I didn't throw up and I didn't die, so it's not toxic either, so I can add this to something else and it will be at least utilitarian.
Okay. I think that's fair. But is there any rhubarb recipe out there that's not a dessert? Because I searched rhubarb recipes and immediate results were rhubarb crunch, rhubarb crisp, rhubarb crumble bars.
So
weirdly enough, not rhubarb pie at the top of the list.
Well, I think it was kind of trying to meet you at the spirit of what you're doing. It's like if you wanted rhubarb pie, you would have said
it's
rhubarb
like
pie.
Surely you know. Right. So okay, stewed rhubarb. Okay, there's your stew bar. Stew barb. Stewed rhubarb, roasted rhubarb, lots of stewed rhubarbs.
Yeah.
This is which I would say validates your theory.
I think this is proving my point.
It was like we boiled it. No, longer. Longer.
Hold. Hold.
This is terrible. Savory rhubarb and cinnamon red lentil curry.
Okay, someone went outside the box.
Okay. I respect you.
I feel like we have to try this now.
This is the recipe we go for. Yeah.
While drinking a rhubarb pie Saison.
Oh my goodness, we've gone off the rails. What's the thuckle on this, Trace?
Yeah, I don't feel good putting a Newburgh beer below 3 thuckles when I enjoy it this much.
Yeah,
it just feels right. Like we could just consistently give them.
I would say,
and this is an old beer, by the way. This is a last year beer. Would never guess.
It's hanging on. I would say, as far as saisons go, my expectation would have been
lower,
max 2 thuckles. Because
but it's
of
a damn
how
good
I feel
saison
about them.
on
But
its
it's
own.
really good. Yeah,
they've perfect. They don't always have a saison on tap, which actually
I don't always saison, but when I do, I rhubarb.
They don't always have it on, which they shouldn't, I guess, because technically it is a spring summer turn beer. It was a harvest beer. Like it was literally like for the changing of the seasons, they would, I think it was the Belgian or Dutch farmlands, French, like on the border with France. Like the farmers, they would like harvest the grain and they would make saison, and then they would pay the workers in saison. It literally means season in French, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So,
all right.
What is that? Wallonia? Is that where it is? I forget.
Sure. You could have said anything.
The Wallonia countryside?
Oh, boy. Let's get into some news and nuggets. We have plenty of stuff to go through today. Why don't we start off with, do you want to do the game stuff up front or at the back?
It's up to you. But for the record, Wallonia is the French-speaking region of southern Belgium. It's known for its medieval towns, Renaissance-era architecture, and traditional Trappist beers.
Thanks.
It's been a few weeks since we've recorded. I'm ready to go. Doesn't matter that we started way late tonight, and this is going to be a long-ass episode as well. So
it's one of those things where when you started talking about it, when you started saying those words, I knew that my brain had already decided I'm never going to need to recall this.
Okay.
It's like to the point where I don't remember what you just said. Or I was like, this is like, we're not filing this. Out to lunch.
Every time now we drink or talk about saisons, I'm going to say Wallonia, and I'm hoping that I will eventually get this to be a Pavlovian response.
I just put my hand out.
No, someone's gonna offer you a saison, and you're just gonna go Wallonia.
Wallonia. Where did that come from? I'm reading the list of beers at Maloney's, and they have a saison section. And I guess it's like IPAs, lagers, Bolognas. Wait, why can't I read that word? Wallonia. Why is this happening? Wallonia. Amazing. Let's push the games to the end, and let's start with like the.
It's gonna be a long topic, so if you want,
okay. So Knives Out 3. Let's start with Knives Out 3 because Knives Out near and dear to our hearts.
Yes.
2 great films so far. First one obviously taking the cake, but the second one excellent in its own right.
I still need to actually sit down and rewatch that one. I think I've only watched it the one time, maybe. Whereas I've caught significant chunks of the first one a few times now. So anyway, this story was from like a week ago. It was on The Wrap. Thomas Hayden Church joins Daniel Craig in Knives Out 3. Production on Wake Up Dead Man begins in the UK this month. Now, as Anthony mentioned to me before we started, because he was asking, he's like, oh, is it just about the fact that there was their first set photo featuring a different look for Benoit Blanc with the longer hair and the scruff.
Yep.
But so Thomas Hayden Church is the latest actor to join the cast of Wake Up Dead Man, the third installment of Rian Johnson's Knives Out franchise starring Daniel Craig as private investigator Benoit Blanc. He's the 8th new actor added to the ensemble of the 2025 Netflix film, joining Josh O'Connor, Kaylee Spenny, Andrew Scott, Kerry Washington, Glenn Close, Jeremy Renner, and Josh Brolin. Production is set to begin this month, which we know it has. Plot details for Knives Out 3 are being kept under wraps, but in his tweet announcing the film's title, Johnson suggested that Wake Up Dead Man would have a different tone than Knives Out, which made $310 million at the box office when it was released in 2019 by Lionsgate, and its Netflix-produced 2022 sequel, Glass Onion.
Is this also going to be a Netflix jam?
Yes, this is another...
Okay.
Now, I don't know if this one will be like a co-released in theaters, because Netflix has done that with a couple of things, at least the ones that they wanted to have like available for like Oscar nominations and stuff like that. I don't know about that yet. It's probably too early. But here's a quote from Johnson. I love everything about whodunits, but one of the things I love most is how malleable the genre is. It's a whole tonal spectrum from Carr to Christie, and getting to explore that range is one of the most exciting things about making Benoit Blanc movies. And then the rest of this is about Thomas Hayden Church for some reason. So,
cool. Well, I'm pumped. I really, really like Andrew Scott, so I'm excited to see this.
Hot Priest.
That's right. Also Moriarty. Also
of note, Glenn Close is a very handsome woman.
We've got Hot Priests and handsome women.
That was also
Knives Out, a Knives Out mystery.
Hot Priests and handsome women. That's also an old Family Guy joke, I think. Mm-hmm. Glenn Close, very handsome woman.
Very handsome woman. That is. It absolutely is. That's cool, though. Thomas Hayden Church, that's Sandman.
Yes.
Right. Okay. He's I saw a Kevin Hart clip where he referred to somebody as Snap Finger Famous.
Oh, when you go, that guy.
Yeah, what's that guy? That's his. I saw his face, and that's immediately what popped into my head. Not what he was in. That he's Snap Finger Famous, and then I had to look up what he was in. All right, cool. That's exciting. So that's just cast announcements. I'm assuming we're 26.
No, they said 25.
They did say 25.
Yeah.
Oh. All right, cool.
Didn't say when, but it did say 2025.
Tell me what you know about Severance.
Very little. So what happened was Monday morning, a little groggy, didn't get great sleep for most of the past week. More on that later. But I woke up, was getting ready for work. Saw, sometimes when I'm going, I'll sit up on my bed, give myself like 5 or 10 minutes just to scroll through some stuff, just to like get my brain moving and shit. Mm-hmm. And I saw something on Twitter about like Severance teaser, and I thought there was like an actual trailer. It was like a 5-second teaser.
Yeah.
And it was basically like fall season 2. It's like, oh, okay. But I didn't fully process it. I thought the whole thing was like, sometimes they do that teaser where it's like there's a trailer later.
Yep.
This is a teaser of the trailer that's coming out.
Drives me absolutely insane. Hate it.
Wasn't the case. Although Apple did release one of those coming up next with like little snippets of trailers for a bunch of different shows and movies that are coming out soon. And so there was like 5 or 10 seconds worth of Severance in that, but it's just very tease.
Yeah, because that stuff was just kind of flashed at WWDC this week. That's why they had it like prep. But that show's great. I'm excited for it to come back. I'm not a huge fan of insanely cliffhangery endings for seasons of shows. That's not. I think if you want to give a tease of what's next, I'm all for it. But if you like leave it completely out there, and I feel like maybe don't really complete your storyline, bothers me a little bit.
Depends on the show.
For me, I just don't like it. I just don't like that practice.
I agree with you sometimes, but I think it can work sometimes, depending on what you're doing.
It's definitely going to get to the point, though. It's also been so long that it's like I'm going to have to rewatch the season.
Well, this was definitely a pandemic / writer strike issue, because apparently there was some issues with the script, like breaking out the script for season 2, where they had to go back to work on it, and that slowed it down. So
my brother-in-law got a very grainy picture of Ben Stiller at
oh, that's right. He says that he drives by
he works at the place where they film it.
Oh, he works at the building.
Yeah, he works there.
I knew it was something about a proximity to that building. I didn't know it was in the building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it's always, when you see the trailers, it's like, oh, it's happening. Like there's people here. They're making it. But that's cool. I mean, I'm looking forward to watching that for sure. Like that first season, that show was like, I mean, edge of your seat. Like I couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah. No, very, very good. I mean, I know I watched it a little behind when you did. I really enjoyed it. I think you like really, really enjoyed it. Yeah. So I knew you'd want to hear about that little update.
For sure. Tell me about Blade.
Less good news. They've lost their second director now.
Oy.
Yeah. And this one, they announced, I actually had forgotten. That was a pre-pandemic announcement. That was a 2018 or 2019 announcement. I remember us talking about it on the show when they announced it. I did not realize that was that long ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As of right now, Mahershala Ali is still tied to be Blade, but they've already lost 2 directors, and it sounds like they're going back to work on the script because they mentioned some guy who's written for, like, helped with writing scripts on a handful of the MCU projects. I think he might have been working on the Fantastic Four movie that's coming out. And he's coming in to rework the script. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't bode well.
It tends not to.
Yeah. This is not.
I mean, better now than once they're like halfway through production, probably, but still.
Or after.
The one big quote.
See the movie we're going to do later.
The one quote I did see was they said, "We're really focused on making sure that Blade comes out right, not right now."
Okay.
Which, like, I appreciate that, and there was some kind of color around that saying that the mandate on how much content MCU wants to push out is going to be reduced to focus on actually making shit that people want to watch. Which we've seen that from Disney as well, like across all fronts. We've seen that for Star Wars as well. Mm-hmm. So like, it's the right approach. Like, we all want more, but not at the cost of it not being good.
Yeah, I kind of wish, like, I don't know. We'll see what happens, what they do with it with the movie. It feels like it's more ripe for the street level Marvel stuff because it feels like Blade should be for a more mature audience. But
I've always been thrown how. And I don't read the comics, but it doesn't fit for me how Blade can exist in the MCU.
Right.
Like, it's its whole own thing. Like, a world with vampires. Like, I feel like that would be a problem. Right? Yeah. Hey, Tony Stark's working on the fact that there's an alien invasion, and oh no, someone's like sucking his blood because he's like half asleep at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
It's like not great.
Yeah. No, I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, is it real? It's not. I feel like it's not guaranteed.
I mean, they've really wanted to do this, but yeah, I mean, with how much turmoil, I suppose nothing's guaranteed. But this is like, it seems like they really want this to happen.
When they said cast, it was like yes, like Mahershala Ali, hell yes, but nothing else is.
Well, it's a little weird. Like, I feel like with most, not all, but most of these projects, they announce a movie or a show and who's making it. And then also sometimes maybe who's going to star in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that one, the draw was Mahershala Ali.
Right.
Not who was making it.
Yeah.
Which is odd to do it that way. Like, there's nothing wrong with, like, the two, like, the creator and the actor being like a package. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, that was like basically how they did Black Panther, right? Like, Chadwick Boseman and Ryan Coogler were like, like a package deal to make that. It's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But like, it would be super weird to, I mean, I guess like at the beginning, right? The very beginning, we're doing an Iron Man movie with Robert De Niro. Holy shit. I was reading about Robert De Niro before. Robert Downey Jr. And it's like, okay. But then like, when you get to the point, like later on when we're introducing some of these other projects, it's like we're making, this movie with this director or this writer.
Right.
And we're going to cast this person, or we have this person cast ready to go along
with. We will see. I'm with you. It is an interesting thing to just have him be the draw. Like, it's like we don't have any ideas. We just
Other
got
than
a face.
Mahershala Ali.
Yeah.
We have one idea.
It's like hey,
Mahershala
hang on. Let me. I got a pitch for you. Okay, Blade. Yes, Mahershala Ali. Yes, and that's all we've got.
It's like nothing wrong with wanting him to be Blade.
Yeah,
I think he'll be great at it.
Yeah,
But
he's good.
You got to give him like a script in a movie to be him in.
Yeah, I just think like, he'll bring a certain like level of professionalism to the role and like believability, just because he's just a tremendous actor.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I was just curious. Can I watch Blade anywhere? The answer is no. Thank you, Mike. By the way.
Oh, have you been using the thing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. What's it called? Just Watch.
I was gonna say,
Just
you tell
watch.
me it's on your phone in front of you right now.
Mike, cousin Mike. Hey, Mike. Told us after the show last week that the app that we're looking for is Just Watch, which I appreciate. You just put the movie in and it tells me where it is and how much it is on all of these things.
Okay.
Which is great. Which you'll start to soon realize it's like, how do I still not have access to the movie?
Not even MGM Plus?
Not even MGM Plus. But yeah, I mean, at this point, shouldn't Blade be on Disney Plus? Or is that a whole other? Isn't it a Fox thing?
For some crazy reason, Sony has been kicking around in my head.
Oh.
But Fox would make more sense, but like I actually don't know who made
I'm looking this up.
The Blade movies.
Let's see. No, not that one. And it's definitely not coming out in 2025. 98. Jesus Christ.
I always forget how old the first one is.
Yeah.
New Line Cinema.
New Line Cinema, maybe one of the
Warner
more
Brothers.
memorable title cards.
Yes. Sorry, it's a Warner property, so it should be on HBO.
HBO?
Max. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Well, Zaslav's gonna Zaslav, so.
Whatever. Do I own this movie? I don't think
Probably.
I own this movie.
I am genuinely shocked if you don't know that.
I think...
Any of them?
No. I really don't think I own any.
Really?
Hang on. I'm going to go to the wall. You vamp for me.
Consult Vamp, really?
You can hear me. We can keep going.
You go to the wall.
I'm going to the wall.
He's searching. Not very.
I don't want to pull...
What's your organization over there?
That's alphabetical.
So B should be pretty high up.
So here's the thing. It's double levels of Blu-rays, and then behind the Blu-ray are the DVDs. And I definitely don't have the Blu-ray.
I could see you having First Blade on VHS.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think I might. That might be a thing.
I feel strongly that you do.
All right, that seems reasonable. Where are we at? This is C. All right. This is also C. This is Black Sheep, the Blair Thumb.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. You know the Kung Fu something, not Kung Fu Hustle, Kung Pao Enter the Fist. Do you remember that movie?
No.
All right, it's just a spoof on kung fu movies, and it's like dubbed over, but comically dubbed over. The guy that made those has a bunch of these thumb movies. Oh my god, where it's like a thumb with the superimposed eyes and mouth.
This actually sounds familiar.
Yeah, I have the whole thumb box set.
And they did a Blair Witch Project?
And they did a Blair Thumb. Yeah. I do not have a Blade DVD.
I am genuinely surprised. Like,
I'm kind of surprised too.
that you didn't have any of them. Like, specifically Blade 2. Blade 2...
I do have a VHS.
Yeah, you do.
But it's a... I mean...
Burned?
Oh yeah, it's a copy. It's a straight copy.
Nice. Classy.
Now it's coming back to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think I watched the first Blade with Kelly and Tony.
I feel strongly like that sounds right.
Yeah.
Like, just like, if you were going to tell me you watch it at the behest of someone else, it would have
Thematically, it tracks.
I have never sat down and watched the first Blade. Like,
we should do it for the show because I'm dying to watch it again.
I've caught parts of it on TV before. Mm-hmm. I don't really have a good sense for what that movie is about, other than I know the very end. There's like that crazy sequence where there's just some giant bat thing flying around.
I don't even remember that. I remember nothing about the movie.
Horrible CGI, just truly awful.
Fantastic. I can't wait to rewatch it.
Blade 2, though, I legitimately like. It's also like legitimately a horror movie. That's Guillermo del Toro.
Okay.
Did that one. And
the third one is kind of a joke,
movie.
right?
It's a movie
like Blade Trinity or something.
Yes, it's a movie I don't hate watching. It's not good, but
Ryan Reynolds,
who is
juggling Thundercunt. That's the line from that movie that stuck with me that I thought was so ridiculous.
Yes, in 2005, I was extremely into that line.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
But he tried his best to just carry that movie kicking and screaming to the finish line because Wesley Snipes had zero interest in doing the movie. The stories that Ryan Reynolds tells about Wesley Snipes on set are... I mean, Ryan Reynolds really dislikes Wesley Snipes, and Wesley Snipes really disliked everyone. So
I have to hear some of this.
He would just refuse to come out of his trailer. Like, they would have to shoot a bunch of shots with just the stunt double. He wouldn't even come out to just do a shot where he was standing there not saying or doing anything. You can find there's in particular one specific interview I know I've heard Ryan Reynolds talk about. He's probably talked about it a bunch of times. It was an unpleasant experience making that movie, from what I understand. Also, Natasha Lyonne plays a blind woman, and Patton Oswalt plays basketball.
Amazing.
And Jessica Biel, which at that time was a thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Mary Campton. I didn't realize that it was that the director of the first one returned for the third one.
I didn't realize that was the same thing either. Yeah,
I was just looking them up, and in looking up Blade, I saw Blade Runner 2099 came up. Did we know about this?
Oh,
have we talked about this?
I forgot to add that to my notes. Yeah, they're doing a show on Amazon.
Yeah, with Michelle Yeoh.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm pretty intrigued by that. I hadn't heard about it before the other day. So.
And 2049 was fantastic.
Yes.
So, all right, cool. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Surprise and new.
Yeah.
Before we get into game news, I've got a news.
Mm-hmm.
This past week, Friday. I took last Friday off.
I was off Thursday and Friday.
I was off for 3 days. Well, 3 days in count, obviously counting the weekend, and we did potty training.
Oh,
and I'm happy to report that he fucking nailed it.
That fast?
It's that fast.
But you took off a day of work to teach him how to use the toilet.
Took off a day of work so that we could have 3 consecutive days. Of doing the toilet.
3 days?
3 days of straight Donald Ducking it.
And no relapsing?
No. Maybe had 3 or 4 accidents total. But we're well over 30 goes on the potty.
Oh.
We have a chart.
That's marathon.
He puts a sticker on the chart. He gets real excited about it.
That is marathon training.
We had an ice cream party at 25. It was great.
Nice. I think my parents used M&Ms. It would be
nice.
You would get a couple M&Ms every time you succeeded.
We did. We just set it up so that we, just a lot of, high praise when he did it, and he got to put a sticker on the chart. And every time he hit 5, he was able to pick out a treat, from a candy bag.
Nice.
And then that had 25th mark. My parents came over. We had ice cream bars. It was great.
Very nice.
Also, on the topic of Elio, 2 things on the topic of Elio. 2 more things, I should say. One, my parents last Christmas bought him an electric tractor, those ride-on. He loves tractors and trucks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they bought him a tractor. It has a little trailer that it pulls behind it too, which is fantastic. He helps me bring the cardboard out when I just put it in the trailer, and he brings it out to the street for me. It's great. But the other day we were like, well, he's finally got the hang of this. We're gonna use the screwdriver and remove the little safety bracket that allows him to put it in second gear.
There's a second gear. Yeah,
a second speed, I should say. It's just an electric motor. And now he is just tearing around town. It's way too fast.
Like Waterboy when
it's just
when she soups up the thing.
Yes, exactly. Which is just fantastic. Anyway, he loves that. He loves that thing. Which has been really fun. But the other thing, this is why you have kids. Before the show, before he went down for bed tonight, you had sent me a text about Star Wars Outlaws and a Dragon Age thing, and I had a few minutes before we had to go upstairs. So I was like, "Hey, buddy, I'm going to watch this video game trailer for Star Wars game. You want to watch it with me? And he said yes. He sat next to me for the whole thing and asked me questions about everything that was going on screen. And then he started repeating character names and places. Is that Tatooine? I was like, yes, it is Tatooine. It was fantastic. He also, so he loves the Star Wars main theme, and occasionally will ask for us to play that on the radio in the car. Mm-hmm. But you'll catch him just humming it sometimes, which is amazing. But even better, when he's by himself playing, he will sing the Star Wars theme song and make up words based on what he's doing.
Like Bill Murray?
It's yeah. Yes. And it's amazing. And I can't wait for you to experience it.
I think you did mention something about him talking about liking to sing Star Wars.
It's so good. It's so good. And on that, I think we should get into some of these games.
Okay.
So why don't you just take the reins on game news, and we'll go one by one.
So E3, I guess, is dead.
E3 is dead. Long live E3.
And it's been loosely replaced with what we're calling Summer Game Fest, which is definitely a name that I remembered when I mentioned to Anthony.
Absolutely.
About it.
Yep. Didn't skip a beat.
Jeff Keighley is organizing.
Some games for fun?
Some games finally was what I came up with. Jeff Keighley is the one who's like putting it on. He's the guy who hosts the Video Game Awards. Mm-hmm. Which that's kind of a cool thing. You get a summer thing and then a winter thing because it's around Christmas time usually, or December anyway. Mm-hmm. And I didn't watch it. I don't even know if there was like a live stream of the thing because it was over the course of a few days, I guess. It's similar, I guess, to the way that E3 was. But I don't know if it was all one big hosted thing because it seemed to coincide. So I don't know if they were like hosting all of it through one central hub online, but they were happening at different locations because there was the Xbox showcase. There was Massive Forward or whatever Ubisoft Forward, whatever it was. And there was a couple other things like PlayStation. Was it PlayStation Direct? Is that what the PlayStation one is? I forget.
I don't know. Nintendo Direct.
Nintendo Direct. I know one
PlayStation
of them was Direct.
Calls theirs.
But anyway, a bunch of the really big publishers did a bunch of different stuff. Some of them chose to use the Xbox and PlayStation ones as their, some even like the big distributors like EA in this instance. So let's start with Star Wars since we were just talking about the Outlaw gameplay. We've known more about this for a while now. It's this scoundrel character you're playing who's going to be, it's very reputation based and stealth and space and combat and all that fun stuff. And it sounds like it'll be an interesting experience. It's going to be, I have modest expectations, but it's a cool concept.
Yeah.
I'm going to look forward to playing it.
I have a concern that it's going to just be overwhelming to the point of me not being able to get through it.
It's possible. Just what they're talking about so many different things, and I'm not like the biggest stealth guy in general, but I'm willing to give it a try. And it sounds like from what they're talking about, like they're trying to. My issue is there's so many games where like when it's stealth based, either the stealth mechanics suck so much you never end up using them, or it's so
like
punishing to not use it that I end up getting frustrated and don't want to play it. It sounds like they're really, truly trying to give you whichever way you want to do it is the right way. Mm-hmm. Which is, if they can execute that, is really cool.
Sure.
Especially because it gives you like a little bit more variety. Like if you truly get to the sense of, I think I really can see the narrow way forward here and do that. Or if you're just like, fuck this, I'm just going to shoot the place up. Like, it's cool to have those options. Yeah. And it's ambitious.
So long as they both are fun to do.
Yes. And viable, right? And it's ambitious, right? Because they showed in this thing, the whole thing is they wanted to show you what a slice of life would look like in this game. So they gave you its mission, which apparently part of the thing is you have the opportunity to go track down these specialists in different fields that would upgrade your own skills. So this one showed a 10-minute game, like guided gameplay, although they skipped through one or two little things. Mm-hmm. And the idea was you were going to track down this gunslinger to become a little bit better at combat. And so you went to find out the rumor as to where you could find this person. You jumped in your ship. You're flying through space.
That was pretty cool.
An optional mission that popped up that you could or couldn't do if you didn't want to. Gave you an opportunity if you succeeded to boost your reputation with one of the major syndicates. You do a little dogfighting in space. Boom, boom, boom. Move on with your life.
Bob's your uncle.
Bob's your uncle. Hop into hyperspace. And then you land on Tatooine. Go to Mos Eisley. Go to the cantina. Find out where you got to go. You got to invade this hut storage thing. And it gives you the option. You run to this place. You use your binoculars. You try and scout out the place. See what your potential way in is. See who's around there. Mark some enemies. See how you're going to figure it out. Go through this thing. Blah, blah, blah. Saw a little gunplay when things didn't quite go right. Like, you got to see all the little things, right? You have your little companion who's this little creature. You can use him to go distract someone.
Where'd her dog go? That's what Elio said when she disappeared off the screen.
Yeah, fair. You could send him to distract someone. You could send him to attack someone. You can send him to go grab something for you. Like it's cool that you have this little suite of options. Whether it be your droid or your little pet, whatever. Like, that's a cool concept. Learn some stuff. Go meet with some people. There's some cutscenes. It looked dynamic. It looked fun.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what the execution looks like. But that was actually, to me, a little pretty encouraging to see, like, this segment of, like, a sequence of things that you can do.
Yeah, and I mean,
that felt pretty seamless.
Graphically, it looked incredible. Like,
the faces are weird, but the rest of the
faces are weird, just in general.
They are. Some places are doing it better than others.
Yeah.
What's concerning?
I'll take it over Bethesda Dead Eyes.
Fine. My point is, when you have, I feel like your protagonist character's face should look good at this point, especially considering how much mocap has done for some of these characters. Like, you can tell the games that do it versus don't. I understand if some, like, nameless, faceless, like AI character is going to be faceless. That's fine. Important characters should have some loving detail gone into their face, but it's not the end of the world. It's just like it's been a little bit disorienting occasionally, but it looked fun. I'm not super pumped for this game, but, like, I'm intrigued to give it a shot.
Definitely. I like Star Wars.
Yes.
You like Star Wars?
I do.
What's Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to something that was a little quicker. I didn't send this to you. I don't know if you saw it, if you didn't see it. This is more of a, if you saw it, great, we'll talk about it for a second. If not, it's just an announcement trailer. It was a cinematic announcement trailer for the new Gears of War game.
Yeah.
E-Day.
E-Day.
Which,
right?
I did not realize that's the game they were working on. I assumed they were working on the next story, considering the last one ended on a kind of a big cliffhanger.
I was very surprised by that myself, and wondering, like, what. I am curious about that decision.
And, like, Gears 5 came out, like, 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
So, like, now, that's not to say that I wouldn't be interested in playing this, but
I'm not entirely sure I finished 5.
We were doing it for a while as the group. We'd have our night once every week or so where we'd hang out, have some beers, play through a handful of missions. So, we had fun doing it that way. I've always enjoyed. I mean, I've played the Gears, at least the first 3 I've played through them on my own, but I've had the most fun usually playing it online, actually, with someone.
Yeah.
Not even the online multiplayer, like the online, like, campaign. Like, I've had a ton of fun doing that. So
the campaign, the co-op campaign. Gears of War is one of the best co-op games that I've ever played. Just in general, it's a fun, especially, like, the way that it's designed, where when you're playing single player, you have to choose one of 2 paths a bunch of times. So when you're playing co-op, the other person is going the other way, and, like, you could, like, assist each other. I always liked that. I will never end Gears spoilers for, like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 2. It doesn't matter. But I remember playing, because I was player 1 and my friend was always player 2 and was always Dom. And then Dom died, and I was like, "Do I play the rest? Like, what is like? We're like, what now?"
Yeah, that was a pretty shocking moment
heartbreaking
in a video game. Like, to have, like, it was always a 2-part campaign. You were always playing as Marcus or Dom, and for one of them to die, and, like, obviously there's other obvious people to step in to the role to continue on the story, because it's always been you're playing as 1, you're playing as 2, you're playing as 4. Jumping between having Cole and Baird, and then they added some other characters along the way who came in and out of the group. Like, that was cool. And they've done a good job of keeping that mix of things going throughout the series now. It was a moment at the end of that trailer to see Dom again.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool.
And Baby Marcus.
This being a prequel. So that was I was excited about that. I'd be excited. I fell off of the Gears train. I loved the trilogy, and then they did the. Actually, no, 4 wasn't the next one that came out, right? The next one was the
Judgment.
The prequel with Baird and
yeah,
and I forgot, was Cole in that one or was it just Baird?
I don't remember. I'm not. I think I played it. I don't really remember.
I definitely played it, but I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that took place basically right before Gears 1. This one takes place with literally the start of Emergence Day, which was like 15 years before the events of 1 or something like that.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. It's going a little further back. I'm sure we'll see like a dumbing down of the tech. I've always found that weird when you have a video game with like prequels where there's like a dumbing down of technology, but also like a streamlining of features.
Yeah,
which is always an interesting balance.
It's definitely weird.
Because we even saw when he pulls his gun there, he didn't have the chainsaw; he had just a giant bayonet.
Yeah,
which I guess was the thing, right? Because the what the hell was that called? Because it was a Lancer, but there was like a different name for the one.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was called, but I do. Yeah, they had various attachments. Yeah, I remember. I remember when Gears of War came out.
The first one, yeah.
And I was in college.
Were you?
Or I think so. I was in the city. I don't know if it was college or work. I don't remember what year it came out.
The first one I thought came out in like 2006.
Gears of...
Maybe it's 2007.
War. November 7th of 2006. Yeah. So... And I graduated high school in 2006. So yeah, that's right. It was freshman year of college. So I remember like I had games were released on Tuesdays, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they still are because I've lost track of that because I do it all on, I do it digital now, but I'm pretty sure they used to be released on Tuesdays.
I think that was the most common thing. Yeah.
And I had a late class and my game was reserved at the mall, which is on the other side of the island. So I remember like getting on the train, like trying to time everything perfect, getting to the ferry. The train, they held it in the station just long enough so that everybody would miss the ferry. One of those situations. And so we had to wait half an hour, got on the ferry, got home, rushed as safely as I could, quickly get to the mall. Parked, ran in, managed to get in. The doors of the actual mall weren't closed yet, but the gate was coming down on EB Games. I think was the
nice. You still had EB Games?
Yeah. And I was like, I have it. It's already paid for. Is there any way you could take this receipt and give me the game? And he's like, I've already turned they cycled the computers for the day. And I get cash registers. Like if you close the register out, like you really can't. It's a whole thing. And I was just like, I'm like, even though I already paid for it, he's like, I totally get it. And I want to give it to you. He's like, but like, that's why he wasn't being a dick at all. He was like, I'm not he's going to get in trouble. Right. So it's just like, I get it. So it was like, head hung low. And I went back home and didn't get to play Gears that night.
So that was Tuesday night, like been out all day or whatever. That sucks.
Yeah.
So I remember doing that a handful of times, and I know they started doing like movie theaters at some point, right, where they had like the midnight release of GameStop.
Yeah, Halo. I did that for Halo 2, Halo 3, Arkham City, and I feel like a handful of other games. Like
I think I did it for Halo 3 and Mass Effect 2. I might have done it for one or two others, but those two I definitely did it for.
Yeah. And it was a blast. The Halo 3 one was like it was an event.
Yeah.
It was really cool because like there was 6 of us that had pre-ordered it.
Especially because they were advertising like that was the end.
Oh yeah. And that was like, and I had gotten like that legendary edition. Like you probably can't see it in the camera frame, but it's the helmet, the Spartan helmet.
Oh, I mean, I know I've seen the helmet before.
So it was a giant box. It was awesome. Oh man, that was so great. And the Halo 2 one was the first time I got like a steelbook. It was a metal box.
Yeah.
And on it was like a special features disc and also like a sound test, the grunt sound test, which was incredible, where it does a 5.1 surround sound test where the grunt runs around the room and says things in different spots and you hear it perfectly. And then he has the oh my god, why can't I think of the giant worm thing's name? The hunter comes out and growls and rumbles the bass.
Oh, okay.
It was pretty cool. It was neat. Man, I haven't thought about the midnight release of video games in a very long time.
Well, I also the last little note on that trailer too was because I don't think it was going during the whole trailer, but at the end when Dom shows up and they're showing like the destruction of the city, they started playing a different version of Mad World, which that was one of the most iconic reveal trailers of all time.
So good
with Mad World over that.
Yep.
You know, the fucking I forget what the hell was that. The corpser coming out of the ground. The first time you saw the corpser in the cinematic, I was like, I don't remember what was going on, but I remember being at home and that commercial came on and I heard the music and it caught my attention because like I knew the song, but like I didn't know it well. I was like, what is that? I like out of the corner of my eye, like, oh, it's like some commercial for this has got to be a video game. Oh shit. And then like literally it caught my attention from like, I was walking past the TV and it pulled me in to watch the whole thing. And I remember being like, whoa.
It has to be the best video game advertisement of all time. Like,
it's for certain Mount Rushmore. I don't, I'd have to really go back and think of all of them. I don't know if it's number one. It's got a Halo, legitimate like call to that, but it's for sure one of the best.
There were some good Halo ones, especially around Halo 2, because they had like there was like a whole campaign and like a whole like meta game around it, like the I Love Bees website that was like hacked that you had to like you could like try to get information. There's like a whole bunch of stuff like that. But I remember with the Gears of War one in particular, like there's certain snapshots in time of games coming out where you're like, there's no way it looks that good. And it did. And it was like that game looked and still, I mean, to its credit today, it looks good. I know they remade it, they remastered it. But like, my goodness.
Yeah. And
what a game.
It's funny. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. I like a cinematic trailer. There's some really good ones out there. I've always had a love-hate relationship with them because there's been a couple times that I've been like, that's awesome. I want to play that game. And then you see what the game is. It's like, I don't want to play this game.
Yeah.
I like the trailer. Don't want to play this game. This one, I mean, like the cinematic trailer doesn't really, like it doesn't show any gameplay, but the spirit of what you're going to be doing is pretty much captured in that. Like, even though it's not accurate, it was true to it.
Right. But then also the cutscenes did look that good.
A lot of them did.
Right.
Yes.
Which was cool.
Was cool for sure. But like, and I guess we can use this to kind of transition to the next topic because this is the right time. The little bit of preamble. Get your video ready. We're not going to play it just yet.
All right. It's ready.
So, Dragon Age Inquisition came out in 2014, I believe. It's been 10 years. Everyone on this who's listened to this show for more than an episode knows I adore BioWare. Mass Effect is my personal favorite series, but I really enjoyed Dragon Age. Mm-hmm. It's definitely second place in those two, but I really love that series. The studio has had a lot of issues. I think a lot of those issues have been semi-external, being that EA has asked them to do things that they weren't capable of doing, and that has caused for strife and struggle. And I think I'm hoping, considering there's been a lot of talk and threat and this and that about them like just killing that studio, and they haven't done it. And I would hope that means that EA realized that they were the ones causing these problems. Mm-hmm. I'm super excited for this game. We've known that they were going to do another game. Mm-hmm. It was officially announced that they were actively working on this game like 5 years ago. 5 years ago, after 5 years.
I remember that. Was that the last E3?
Has E3 been done for 5 years?
I know I think now it's officially done, but it was skipped a bunch of times, I thought. Or people skipped where it wasn't like...
Well, it started with people skipping it, and then they paused it for the pandemic, obviously. Yeah. And that just never came back, I guess. So maybe 4 years, I guess. I think 2019 was probably the last one then, I would guess. So the first Dragon Age had a cool trailer. The second one, I don't know if it would be a Mount Rushmore one. The second one was a legitimately huge deal when that teaser or reveal trailer, the cinematic trailer came out. I don't know if you remember that one.
I don't remember it.
You can check it out later if you want, but like that one it was a huge deal with Hawk, the protagonist of that game, fighting the Arashok, who was the head of the Qunari faction. There was these huge gray monsters with the horns coming up the top of their heads. You know, like a giant orc type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was like, and with a dragon flying over top and all that stuff. Like it was, that was its own thing. Yeah. So
the Age of Dragons.
Yes. No, I mean it is literally the Age of Dragons. They have kind of like instead of a Chinese New Year thing where like every year is a different animal. Every century there is like an omen, and then that thing is what they call that century.
Okay.
So like instead of like the 1900s or whatever, it's the Dragon Age or the Age of Kings or what. Like there's all of these. Like each 100 years has their own thing, and this is
gotcha.
This series takes place during the Dragon Age, which is like the 9th century of quote unquote recorded history.
Okay.
So they did that first little. There was a teaser trailer thing with voiceover of one of the main characters from the last game that came out at one of the video game awards when they had kind of been quiet on it. Mm-hmm. That was, I think, what you were thinking of, which was, I think, like 5 years ago.
Okay.
The one with, and they showed like the red lyrium idol at the end of it.
Yeah.
That was the official announcement. Everyone knew they were working on the game. Mm-hmm. That was like the official where the next Dragon Age is fully in development. And like then I don't think they did anything the year after that. Mm. And then like the next year after that, so like 2 years after that, I think was when they announced the title that it was going to be Dragon Age Dreadwolf, which was, and again, reference that same character, Solus. And then it's been really quiet for like a long time. And I actually had kind of sort of forgot this in December, because with BioWare, like for the Mass Effect things, November 7th is N7 Day. N7's the Special Forces thing in Mass Effect. They always do something. If they have something big to say, they have something big to say. Otherwise, they do some fun little stuff just to engage with the community. Mm-hmm. I think December 4th is Dragon Age Day, because like DA, D4, kind of, whatever. It's a looser adoption, but they have that thing as well. In December of this past year, they said, hey, this summer, full reveal, we're going full board talking about this game.
Okay.
I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah.
But there's been rumblings for the last like 2 months that, they're going to be talking about this game soon, but like no reports, just like rumblings. Like, and I keep waiting to see someone sourcing something anywhere. It's just like, there's talk that there's going to be some talk about Dragon Age coming up soon. And I'm like, maybe it'll be out the end of this year. And I'm like, fuck, they have not shown or said anything other than like occasionally some really vague concept art that's just like kind of been floated out there. Like, hey, look at these 2 pictures we did.
Right.
There was an announcement of like them hiring some voice actors like several months ago, and like that was it. Like there was nothing tangible to work on other than we've hired a bunch of voice actors for some of the main characters. And it's like, okay, that's cool, nice to know, but like, is this game actually like gonna happen in our lifetime? Like, so the other day, in anticipation of the Xbox showcase, they release a couple of snippets of stuff, basically saying we are going to showing you stuff within the coming week. It is happening at this festival. And also, by the way, we're changing the name of the game. It's now called Dragon Age The Veilguard. It's like, okay,
it's a bold strategy, Cotton.
It is. I gotta be honest, I didn't really like the original title.
Okay.
I don't have any issue. Like, the Dread Wolf is like a big part of the lore. It's become very big after the last game. That's cool and fine. I just didn't like it as the title of the game. It didn't really keep with the naming convention of the other games, where Dragon Age Origins, the whole point was like you could pick one of a series of different origin stories, and then that's what you play through, and like that was the thing. Dragon Age 2 also doesn't hold with the convention, but the working title of that game, what the game was supposed to ship as, which EA flat out refused to let them do, was supposed to be Dragon Age Exodus, because the prologue of the game starts with during the Blight, which is taking place the whole course of the first game. The main character flees from the Blight and from that country into a different area where his ancestry is from, and the whole rest of it takes place over there. It was a really weird, dumb thing. I've seen stuff, Mark Dara, who used to run the Dragon Age team talked about it a lot after he retired. The third one, Dragon Age Inquisition. The whole thing is about the formation and execution of
the Inquisition.
Yes,
what a show!
It's
the Inquisition. Here we go.
A less directly religious bent, but a similar concept of we're going to create this body of thing that's going to root out problems, right?
Yeah.
So Dreadwolf is the name of the antagonist. It didn't really fit the convention. Like all the other titles have been very thematic, whereas this was very specific. So they changed it to the Veilguard, which is going to be the name of this group of characters. Your main character and the companions. We all know that all the BioWare games are big on story, characters. The combination of those three things. And very specifically, going back to their roots. When you talk about Knights of the Old Republic, you talk about Dragon Age, you talk about Mass Effect. It's always been about, we're going to give you a kick-ass team of characters that you're going to fall in love with. Even if you don't love every single one of them, you're going to love them as a group. So I'm like, okay, that's it's signaling a clear intention, even if I don't like that it doesn't really fit with the I would have probably just called it Veilguard or whatever, like not the Veilguard, which is like I know semantics, but whatever.
Yeah, no, I get you. I'm kind of with you on it. Or when I saw the title, I was like,
it's just clunky.
Just drop the.
Drop the. And I think everyone's kind of on that page. Not the end of the world, though.
Yeah. I could change it again.
Now I want you. So they said this whole thing. This story. We liked the old title. We like this one better. We've been thinking about this for a while. We want to do this because we want to signal our intent that this is what this story is about. You and your group, which again is really back to the basics, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
I want you to put on that trailer now.
Okay.
Everyone's just going to have to listen to this trailer. It's like, I don't know, 10 minutes.
You're not looking good, old friend. This'll take more than you and me.
What are you thinking?
We need someone to be our eyes and ears in the shadows.
Someone to bring a little darkness to the daylight.
We're going into the fade, aren't we?
Digging up a lot of buried secrets.
About Darkspawn.
Yeah. Someone who will stand between us and a pack of demons.
You know there will be dragons.
Right. We'll need someone with fire in their blood. One more thing. This crew there. Someone we can count on. Someone that the world can count on. Where are we gonna find?
All right. Now, you have dabbled in Mass Effect. You've never played any of Dragon Age, though, right?
I think I tried playing like 10 minutes of the first one.
Okay. So, very little experience with it.
Yep.
What's your impression of the series in general?
I don't really have one.
Okay.
I thought it was more serious, and then I started the first one, and then it seemed a little goofy.
Okay, that is... I couldn't have set that up any better. What a perfect response, Anthony. A perfect response. Now, I never played Knights of the Old Republic. How would you characterize the theme of that?
Hella serious.
No goofy?
Not goofy.
Okay. You've dabbled with Mass Effect.
Yeah.
What's your impression of that?
Serious. Yeah. Has a touch of whimsy.
Touch of whimsy? Okay.
Yeah.
So you would say on the level, right, BioWare games, very serious, heavy themes, end of the world typically.
Yeah.
Depending on your game and your mileage, pretty hefty dose of levity on occasion. You got to balance the dark with the light, right?
Yeah, we have fun. We have fun times.
Yes,
overall,
fun times. Specifically, I'll just speak to this part of it. The fun times usually are with your crew,
right?
Right. You need to blow off steam. You need to have a chuckle, even if you're doused in someone else's blood. Gonna have a chuckle.
Yeah.
Tiniest spoiler from Mass Effect 2. Garrus, one of your right-hand man throughout the whole series. You reconvene with him early on in the second game after he thought you were dead. You had no idea where he was. You meet up. You recruit him back to your team. He gets blown up. You think he's going to die. The mission fades to black as he's like choking on his own blood.
Uh-huh.
One of your other characters will say as it's fading to black, I don't think he's going to make it.
Uh-huh.
You cut scene to he's on the ship. He's healthy but banged up.
Yeah.
And you have the option to start cracking jokes about how, well, because he's an alien species, that no one is going to notice the difference. He's always been ugly. And that's the third one is the darkest of them all, but it also has the goofiest moments of them all, too. It's the darkest and the lightest at the same time.
Okay.
So that trailer, I watched you laughing a little bit while you're doing it, but it looked like not laughing at it. You were laughing with it. You were having a good time. For anyone
it reminded me of the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Okay, yeah. And the fact that there's dragons,
Yeah.
obviously.
I meant the way that they were like, we're building a team, and like it was kind of goofy, like a goofy chat about it. Like, that's what that's. So
the two characters talking throughout that, anyone who listened didn't queue it up to watch themselves during the whole course of it. Obviously, it was nice. We got a cover of David Bowie's "We Can Be Heroes," all that. Good song, good choice for this. Two characters. The female character, they're both dwarf characters. The female character, Harding, she was a fringe character in the last game. Varric was the older dwarf with the crossbow. He was introduced as a companion character in the second game. He actually is narrating that whole story throughout the course of that game. There's occasional cutscenes to him narrating after the fact of everything that happened. The story takes place over the course of 10 years. Then he becomes, again, one of your companion characters in the third game. He's the only one who's been in more than one game as a companion character, considering you play as a different protagonist in each of the now 4 games. So he's part of recruiting. He's become this now through line because part of his whole thing is he's a storyteller. So he's been part of the bard. He's a bard, basically.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, if you weren't watching this trailer, and this is to the audience, because obviously Anthony's watching, every time Harding asked a question, oh, do we need this or are we going to do that? They cut to a new character, and they did flash a title card of what the character's name was and what their role was, right? It's a little whimsical and slapstick. There's no question about that. The amount of people who bitched and moaned about this fucking trailer.
Really?
Oh my god. Everyone was racing to get to be the first person to say how much they hated this trailer. This is a fucking joke. It's the Fortnite-ification of BioWare. It's the Marvel MCU-ification of BioWare. This and that. Now, I will grant you. All of the stuff they've shown has been very stylized so far. Just visually, very stylized. Sometimes, though, you like to do a little stylized tone thing when we're talking about this is not what the game is going to fucking look like. This is supposed to be a dark and gritty series. Look at the trailers for the first 2 games and blah, blah, blah. I'll grant you. 2 games have some really dark shit in it. Dragon Age 2, there's a plot line. Spoiler alert. Your mother gets kidnapped by a serial killer who is kidnapping and murdering women so that they can steal their skin. It can be really fucking dark. There's also, I can't tell you how many times that you get into bar fights with your teammates and we all have a good laugh about it at the end. I don't understand. People thought this is what the video game was going to be. It's going to be, we're going to have jokes and it's just going to be the slapstick comedy. Everyone was losing their goddamn minds. Now, did you watch the gameplay trailer or you didn't have time?
I did not have time.
The gameplay trailer.
I feel like I have to pull it up though.
Well, no, it's 15 minutes long. So
I'm going to pull it up just so I can see a few clips of it. But go ahead.
So yeah, maybe you mute it and just you can have it on video while I'm talking. So I was talking about this with Dominic and Brian because Brian's never played the series. He's a Mass Effect fan, but he's aware of Dragon Age. I think he played the first one, but not the second and third one. Dominic loves Dragon Age more than I do, even.
Okay.
I would say I'm more Mass Effect. He's more Dragon Age, but he loves Mass Effect too. I was like, this is not what the game is gonna be like. They're not just gonna turn this into a fucking we went from a hard R to rated G. Like, that's not going to happen. Like, why is everyone going nuts? It's like they've always tried to do things like this or not always, but a lot of times they've emphasized the fact that like you're going to fall in love with your crew. You might literally fall in love with them. It's been a huge thing with BioWare. It's a huge meme online that BioWare games are really just dating simulator games because of how many times you can like romance your crew members and all that and stuff, whether it be Mass Effect, Dragon Age, whatever. I'm like, can everyone just wait until we see an actual goddamn bit of footage from the game itself, the actual game?
Right.
So that thing that you're watching snippets of right now, the gameplay trailer comes out, and I start seeing all the reaction after it. That looks fucking awesome. This is so badass. This is Dragon Age. I'm like, oh my god, have you not been around for the last 20 years of fucking game development? Like, what are we? I feel like I was taking crazy pills.
It does, like, it looks really good.
This is one of the best looking games that I can recall seeing. Like, this is owning the fact that we're in mid-cycle on like this generation of consoles.
The water and lighting effects are just like, holy crap.
I mean, like, I think people were a little thrown that some of the stuff, like every game that's come out has had a different like base color. Like Origins was a lot of sepia. Mm-hmm. Second one was a lot of red and white. The third one was very green dominant, which was like had a lot to do with the actual game. Like there's tears in reality that are like signified by green smoke, so they made that a big tone. This one's been very purple, yeah. Which I think that's why I honestly think that's the only reason people brought up Fortnite, because the original run of Fortnite was like always purple backsplash. Like,
no, maybe the purple, but in that reveal,
it's a little cartoony.
It's the, and not just the cartoony aspect of it. It's like it is the exact style of the cartoon. It's like this bubbly. It's like a bubbly art style. Like that's the only way I can describe it. And it's funny because I don't like that art style. I'm not a fan of it.
I'm indifferent to it. I don't like it, but I don't like hate it either.
But it's that was actually something that came up for me like during the Xbox showcase. I feel like there's a lot of games that they showed off that have that like house style, and I just don't care for it.
That's fine.
I'm like, if you like it, that's great. But like,
we're still falling for the banana in the tailpipe of like the teaser trailer is going to be exactly what the game looks like.
Right. This looks really freaking cool.
Right?
I am interested in starting here.
The game might end up being bad. Like there's no guarantee it's going to be a good game.
You don't know.
But like
he's just knocked that guy off a cliff.
Yeah. But what people were talking about, I'm like, is this the first time that we're engaging with video games? It has been a legitimate medium for like 30 years.
You can't go on the internet, man.
But I can't. Like, listen, I don't know any of these people in real life. I don't.
Yeah.
But these people work really fucking hard, man. Like, they made incredible games. They haven't always been perfect. They've had some failures. I think it's pretty well documented. The failures are largely external. Not all of them. There have been some fuck-ups internally for sure. There's no question about that. But they have been saying, guys, we get it. We understood what the problems are. We're not doing those things anymore. We're getting back to our roots of what we want to do. We want to give you a fantastic story with fantastic characters that you're going to have fun and want to come back to. We're not doing MMO shit. We're not doing slapping on multiplayer shit for the fuck of it because EA demands it. We're not doing live service. We're doing a Dragon Age game. We're doing a Mass Effect game. Let them just do the goddamn game. Buy the game. Love it, hate it. Once you pay for it, you're entitled to your opinion.
I gotta stop you for a second because the level design here is so cool.
Yeah. Also, they stripped there was potential to do some really cool stuff with the open world that they chose to do in Inquisition. It didn't work out. They fell victim to the thing everyone did last generation, where it's like we're just gonna make something gigantic.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're going back to something more similar to 1 and 2, where like there will be like big sections and or
open
hubs, but
sections,
but it's more guided. Like you're gonna go places because you have to go there.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like with open world games, like for me, I prefer a little bit of a tighter corridor. Like I like a little bit of, not like, I don't want hand holding per se. I just want to I don't want to wander around for hours because I don't know what to do next.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Or just wander around a gigantic thing because they're like, look how big we can make this.
Yeah.
You and me have talked about this before. I stop building out.
Yeah.
Refine the detail.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care that you built a giant lifeless city.
Mhm.
Build me 20 blocks of shit that I can interact with, people I can talk to, doors I can go into, floors I can go up. Like make it feel like something that's alive.
Yeah.
That's what the technology should be able to sustain at this point. I don't need something that it will take me half an hour to walk from one end to the other to.
Yeah.
It should take me half an hour because I talked to this person, I shot that person, I climbed this flight of stairs, I discovered this thing, you know?
This is interesting because it's gone into a cutscene, and the cutscene is more of that like bubbly look than the actual in-game feels.
A touch, but it's not as dramatic as that. It's not as stylized as that trailer.
No, it's not.
This is not the first time that a trailer has been more or less stylized or saturated or desaturated. I mean, people were complaining about, just from the thing about Dragon Age has no color. And I'm like, did you play Inquisition? There's every color that exists on the palette of, like, Monet couldn't come up with more colors than were in Inquisition. The tone is dark, but the colors existed that hit your fucking retinas. Like, what are we talking about?
The color. Yeah, this looks fun. I'd like to check it out.
Yeah. I don't expect you don't have the time. I don't expect you to go back through 3 games, especially when, like, the first game's a 60-hour game, the second game's a 35-hour game, and the third game's a 100-hour game. Like, I don't expect you to go do that.
Yeah.
If you want me to give you a tight synopsis, you and me will sit down, we'll have a glass of whiskey, and we'll talk about it for half an hour, and you'll be up to speed. Like,
that sounds good.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
This game looks awesome.
I'm down with that. It does. It looks. I mean, I think I've talked about this before, but like, graphical fidelity is not a thing that I really care about anymore, because like I feel like we've gone through phases of like, okay, it's really good, and now like the levels of polish, it's a smaller change, right? Like it's definitely better than it was last year or 2 or 3 years ago, but it's not like it's groundbreaking. A couple of things that I saw this past week, I was like, oh,
my thing is I have baselines. If you're not meeting the baselines, we have a problem. But like anything you go above and beyond that, I'll give you a pat on the back. But like to a certain point, there's diminishing returns, right? Like, yeah. But like, to me, it's like, if you can't execute at these thresholds for these different things, I'm like, what have you been doing? What have you been spending your time and money on? Like, like, it just feels like you're not trying hard enough, right?
Yeah, but this looks bonkers. I just want to check it. I kind of just want to see more of that world. It looks really cool.
Yeah, and that's the first time they're going to that location. It's one of the major I'm not going to bore you in the lore because you don't know any of it right now, but like, that's the first time they're showing. There's been a couple other places through the course of first 3 games that you've gone to. You've seen iterations as like the generations have gone, but you kind of know the house style of what you expect to see. That's the first time they've shown that place, and it's a big deal that they're finally showing that place. So
okay,
and it should look almost futuristic, despite the fact that this is a D&D style story where it's like a quote unquote ancient world with swords and shields and all that stuff.
Yeah, cool.
Also, it's the Game Informer cover this month, so
nice.
I'm looking forward to that story coming out whenever it does.
Nice. Any more gaming news?
No, those are the core ones that I wanted to talk about.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. That's from what I saw. Those were the most interesting pieces for me as well.
And they announced fall of this year. It would have been nice to get at least a month, if not a date, but fall, whatever.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, with that, why don't we get into some consumption?
Absolutely. There's plenty of that too.
Plenty of consumption to go around. You want to start?
Sure. I've been going through this thing. I know we talked about it a little bit, I think maybe 2 episodes ago, but I've been making use of the fact that HBO, I think, has the whole A24 collection on it.
Yeah, we talked about this last week.
I watched another A24 movie from like when that first really got started. It was, and this is what I've wanted to watch for a while. Although actually, I don't think I ever realized it was A24. It's a Most Violent Year.
Yeah.
Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain. And
it's funny that you should say that, because I was going through the A24 collection. I was like, oh, I didn't know that was an A24.
Yeah, that was the same thing. I remember that movie coming out, and I think at that time, because it came out, I think, before Ex Machina, that was really our introduction to that studio. I think it's most people's probably that studio.
Yeah, Ex Machina. When did Free Fire come out?
That was definitely after Ex Machina.
Yeah, but when I feel like Ex Machina might have been my introduction to the studio, but for some reason Free Fire was like the first time I took a note of the name of the
That was what cemented it for you?
Yeah.
That was, I want to say, 2017?
That movie was fun.
That was around the beginning of the show.
We did it early on.
It was pretty early on.
Yeah.
So, anyway, watch this movie. Good flick.
Nice.
Glad I finally got to sit down and watch it. Wasn't what I thought it was going to be about. I don't know what I thought it was going to be about, but it was just not the story I was expecting. But that's not always a bad thing. Also, continued unintentionally this Albert Brooks run.
Oh, your Albert Brooks deep dive.
Yeah, I had no idea he was in the movie, and 5 minutes into the movie, I was like, "Hey, look, there he is!" 'Cause I watched it like a week and a half ago or whatever it was. So I was like, it was not long after we had recorded and everything. I was like, "Hey, look, there he is again." It wasn't even intended to watch him again all of a sudden.
That broadcast news has popped in and out of my head like on a daily basis. It was just a really good movie.
Yeah, I'm glad we did it.
Nice. I speaking of going back and watching things, I accidentally watched like 4 X-Men movies. I had no intention of going down this rabbit hole.
You did text me and were like, "Hey, I've been watching the X-Men movies."
Yeah,
with like, Ian, right?
Yeah, it's been our morning movie for a bit, but I was like, I'm really looking forward to the Deadpool movie, and I was like, oh, I want to kind of brush up on some of the old X-Men stuff because I'm sure they're going to be like
references.
They're going to be references, and so it's probably going to be really funny. I should watch these, and I watched the first X-Men movie, and I was like, this is a really good fucking movie. Like this is really good.
And the second one's better.
And then I was like, man. And then I watched the second one, and I was like, tremendous film. I was like, this is really good. I was like, this is better than 90% of the MCU. Like, this is really good. And then I watched the third one, and I was like, oh, what happened?
It gets more hate than it deserves, but it's definitely a step back from the first two.
It's definitely, yeah. It's like, it's not horrible. It's not a horrible movie.
It's just,
but it's so obviously like not everybody was on board. Like that's what's so clear. I feel like. I
think the scope got too big. I think they lost control of it because like they had like kind of a core group of people in the first one. They expanded it out in the second one, and everyone had a part to play and a role, and everyone got their moment.
Yeah. And
then the third one, they like almost like doubled the size of the cast again, and it just like not everyone had an opportunity to have a moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little weird, and it's fine. Like it's good enough. Like it's interesting, and there's some cool concepts and stuff. But
mostly James.
It's a little bit Michael Bay.
Much of a moment.
What'd you say?
So mostly James Marsden didn't get much of a moment.
James Marsden did not get much of a moment. But it's a little bit Michael Bay. There's a little extra unnecessary like levels of action. Like it's like, well, I'm all for having the action, but you got to have story to go with it. And it's like, you told me what the story was. I get it. There's not much depth to it more than that. Like it's like I feel like there was a lot more they could have done with focusing on Jean. Like even though they kind of made it like she was going to be the front and center of it, and then they kind of just push her off to the sidelines for like an entire third of the movie, and then she's just kind of there, and then is able to finish the movie. It's weird. It's just it's clunky. It seems like a rough draft.
Yeah,
it's not.
It needed
polished.
It needed to be tightened.
They need to put it back in the oven.
Anyway. I will say though, the first time I saw it, and like I actually caught part of it a couple months ago, but when Magneto decides that he's just going to take the whole ass Golden Gate Bridge to get to Alcatraz,
yeah,
it's a pretty visually arresting moment.
It's cool, yeah.
Right?
You know what else is visually arresting? The first occurrence of a dusting in a Marvel universe when Sir Patrick Stewart just disappears.
Oh.
And I was like, Jesus.
Well, I mean, that wasn't in that one, yeah. Well, mostly just because you're like, oh, I mean, come on, they're not going to kill. Oh, they killed Professor X.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much a dusting as a misting, I want to say.
Yeah, more of a misting. But anyway, it was. So I watched that, and I was like, okay,
X-Men movies, fantastic music too.
Oh yeah, so good. I was like, I was kind of like reliving. I was like, okay, I see where it went off the tracks a bit here, and then I watched Wolverine. X-Men Origins Wolverine, and it starts and we're getting into it, and I'm like, how did this happen? Like, what?
That was one of those studio movies.
Yeah. I was like, what do we...
That movie got studioed.
It's really bad.
I mean, again, Ryan Reynolds talked about it. That movie got studioed.
Yeah. But there's so many things that happen that make me go, wait a second. How did this happen? Mostly the fact that it's like it's Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, and we have a Sabretooth character, and it's like, but you're in the same we're not talking about resetting universes yet. This character already exists. Like, what did you do? Why did you do? What's happening here?
It's a light retconning.
It doesn't make any sense. It's very bizarre. And then of course,
it's not the first time that someone's been recast. They would do it a couple years later with Terrence Howard.
No, but it's not a recast because the character, like the idea, like it would have been a bigger deal in the X-Men movie if that was his brother that he was fighting with.
I mean, they never said it wasn't.
It's just. Stop defending X-Men Origins Wolverine. All right, which if we're going to talk about, you have to say the whole title of the movie.
X-Men Origins Wolverine.
The problem, and then of course there's the whole. I mean, but there's actually there is fun to the movie. Though.
I would like to propose an alteration to the title though, in the a la the Veilguard becoming Veilguard.
Mm-hmm.
Can we rename it X-Men Origin Wolverine, because there was never a second Origin?
That's true.
I think they were going to, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they intended to do it for like various characters.
I think they were going to do it for Professor X, and I'm pretty sure that the Gambit character was supposed to get his own movie.
Oh, like 700 times.
Channing Tatum, that was like a thing for a long time, even though like, I know it was what's his name in that one, the guy from Friday Night Lights, right? Who was
sure? I don't know who he is. I don't
Battleship.
Didn't see Battleship.
Oh, okay. I'm going to look it up while you continue.
I know it's not Channing Tatum.
No, it's definitely not that.
But yeah, like, I don't know. Some of the characters were cool. The concept was, I mean, like, the main storyline, like, the idea of, like, getting into, like, the whole, like, Stryker and making Weapon X and, like, that it was cool. Like, it was cool to explore that.
And that part was consistent, the whole Alkali Lake and reusing those sets and all that.
That part was good, but there was a lot of other things that they were just, like, bonkers and all over the place. But then the plot thickens, okay?
Taylor Kitsch, just could not think of his name. He was one of the main characters on the Friday Night Lights show.
Okay. But
John Carter, remember that huge...
Yes, that actually, I remember looking him up when I watched the X-Men Origins Wolverine movie, and it was like, oh, right, John Carter.
Oh my god, I forgot David Benioff wrote this.
But, okay, focus on this for a second.
I can't,
Focus.
You put me in this rabbit hole.
Focus it. Close it out. Focus in on this. So we talked about there's the Sabretooth thing, which is already a mistake, because Sabretooth already exists and is not his brother. I don't care what you say.
You don't know that.
It's not his brother. Okay, but here's what I do know. At the end of the movie, we get a character.
Wait, no, this works though. He forgets everything.
It's not his brother though.
Well, it's his half brother.
At the end of the movie, we get another character. Whose name is escaping me, but she's got the diamond skin, like something Frost, maybe,
Emma?
or Emma something. Emma Frost. Yeah. We get this character. I'm like, okay, interesting. Like, this is an interesting character.
But she was in that one? I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, she's the sister of Logan's not wife.
Her brother's sister's cousin's former roommate.
Former roommate, yeah. No, it's his love interest that is killed, but not killed because she's actually working for them. Because if she does it, they'll release her sister, whatever, is Emma Frost.
Totally forgot about that.
Yeah, it's clunky.
I remember the thing that, like, the wife dying was not a real thing, but I forgot why she was doing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got that. Emma Frost, which all I can think about is this character with the diamond skin.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't she in one of these other X-Men movies?
First Class. And
then I watched X-Men First Class, and I was like, now hang on.
January Jones?
Because this is the same character, same name. This is the character.
And technically loosely in the same continuity?
Well, that's the problem, right? Because X-Men First Class is in the past compared to this timeline.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's in the past it's got to be in the past compared to this timeline.
Barely?
No, I mean like based on what's going on in the world.
Well, because Origins...
It's the Cuban Missile Crisis.
And Origins took place during Vietnam.
Yeah.
So that's close enough, whatever.
Yeah, but here's my point. This character is older and not the same character.
Well, I mean, again, recast.
Okay, recast, but also not the same person.
Sure,
Doesn't have the same experiences. Doesn't talk about his sister.
Now you're going to tell me her sister isn't her sister anymore.
It's also in the past, and we break her powers. Regardless. Here's what I'm getting at. They did X-Men First Class after X-Men Origins Wolverine, which is after the other 3 X-Men movies.
But before.
And all of this is before they decided, you know what? We screwed up. Let's release a movie where we just wipe the timeline. Right? That's what the next X-Men movie becomes.
Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Past, right? But they haven't made that decision yet that they're going to be wiping the timeline.
But what you're forgetting about time travel, though, is when you wipe the past, it can change the future.
Sure.
And that's how, what's his name, his family became rich instead of mediocre. And also how Doc wore a bulletproof vest.
Sure. Anyway, it's just so obvious that like this is such a. I feel like it's just so messed up. It's just constant. It is a lot of studio meddling.
Yeah. Well, it got studio because what's his name? Was it Bryan Singer or Brian Fuller? I was confused.
Bryan Singer, because
he did the first 3, and then he didn't do Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
But then he came back and did Days of Future. Or
did he do First Class?
If he wasn't directing it, he certainly was like executive producing it.
Okay.
He's definitely involved again after Origins.
So here's the problem. The other thing, Days of Future Past, not Days of Future, First Class is actually it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Great concept, right? Like the whole really diving into Magneto and his origin and his, because this is X-Men Origins Magneto, right? Like that's what the movie probably title.
X-Men Origins Magneto and Charles Xavier.
Yeah. But like the
two of them are the co-stars of the movie.
The two of them. It's like, yes, okay, we're gonna put you in a wheelchair by the end. Like we get it. Like that's but like
we're gonna show you recruiting young people to come work for you. Like I mean it's both their origin.
Between the storyline, the writing of the
it's called First Class, man.
Of the writing of Eric's character and then Michael Fassbender's performance, like it's so good because it's like you just want to be like Magneto, like just stop. Like we get you're hung up on this, but no, it's like without being too heavy-handed, like you're like it's getting into trauma and well, no, but like yes, that, but like the actual like his mental state, right? Like it does it in a subtle way. Like I mean, he keeps doing things, right?
Was it subtle when he was sitting in an Argentine restaurant and started killing Nazis?
No, I'm not talking about his actions being subtle. I'm just talking about like his mental state, like this, like not really talking like
they did a good job of showing the nuance of a person who's triggering in and out of
and how like every decision he makes, you can't argue that you can't say you don't understand where he's coming from.
Yes.
And I think that's like a really like
it was well written.
It's so mature for what this movie could be.
You can engage on it with whatever level you want. If you want to say this is about a superhero and a supervillain being formed from the bonds of friendship to the bonds of rivalry, you can do that. If you want to just interact at that level, you can. If you want to talk about the ideas of grief and trauma and power and all of those things and oppression and suppression and how those things all intersect and intertwine into a cosmic gumbo, like you can do that as well.
Yeah, and Professor Xavier's like his hubris and like that he's going to be making mistakes and I don't know. It's just really well done. I have a newfound respect for this movie. I just thought it was excellent. After when it was over, I was like, damn, that was good. Well, that was like a big on par with the first 2 movies in the series.
It's really well written, which the first 2 were as well.
Mm-hmm.
And also, there's a part of you that's like, well, no one could possibly hold a candle to Sir Ian McKellen and Sir Patrick Stewart. Mm. And then you watch Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy hold a candle to them.
Absolutely do it. Yeah. But so now I'm torn because the next movie is X-Men. No, is the Wolverine.
So
And-
you've made it past Days of Future Past?
No, Days of Future Past is after it, isn't it? Hang on,
As far as release or chronology?
release.
The answer to either of those questions is I don't know.
The Wolverine is 2013. Days
Future Past is what, 15?
Future Past is 2014.
So you're watching release date then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but the Wolverine comes out, and I don't remember the movie even a little bit.
That's a polarizing one. Some people really liked it. I didn't dislike it. It was on TV. I was kind of watching it. I was like, okay, whatever. And then I just went on living my life.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't, I'll tell you what, it wasn't worse than what we're going to talk about later. But
Sure.
like, it just, I don't know. It just didn't grab me for whatever reason.
Okay. That's kind of my recollection too, because I don't have a memory of like the storyline at all. But
Japan.
yeah. And then Days of Future Past is going to come out, and it's going to reset the timeline for the most part,
If you
or
say so.
wipe out everything.
I never saw Apocalypse, so I don't know.
Okay. I did see Apocalypse, and I don't remember it. And I'm just remembering now that there's even another movie after that I did see on a plane.
I think, yeah, well, that was New Mutants, right?
No. Phoenix? Dark Phoenix?
I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
I never saw that one either. Which is after Apocalypse. It's definitely a continuation of that. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But Apocalypse, I think, if I recall the conversation around it, is X-Men The Last Stand again. Like, in the sense of, like there could have been a good movie there, and it just didn't quite surface.
Right. Well, I guess I'll let you know when I get to them. But here's now the next part of the issue, which is I was like, okay, so next
people
up,
hated Dark Phoenix. That was one of those ones that I also think got studioed.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. If I remember correctly, it's terrible. But I was like, oh, I'm actually looking forward to Days of Future Past because I remember enjoying it the first time I watched it.
I watched it once. I remember really liking it. I think everyone really liked it. I remember parts of it, but I saw it one time. So
yeah, I was like, oh, so I'm really looking forward to doing this. So does this come next? I was like, oh no, the Wolverine comes next. I was like, cool. So I'll put on the Wolverine. I haven't actually started it yet, but that's next in the queue. And then I was like, let me look at the list on Disney, and then of course, Days of Future Past is not there. And now we're back to this, where it's like, what are you doing?
They do play a shell game with some of this content.
It's so irritating. Anyway, that's where I'm at right now. So the Wolverine, maybe I'll start that tomorrow.
Okay.
We'll see. But anyway, this is my accidental rewatch of all of the X-Men movies.
Well, I'm going to take this opportunity to take the baton of you talking about Days of Future Past, which co-starred Oliver Platt, and talk about the fact that I have started watching The Bear.
Wait, hang on. Pause.
Mm-hmm.
Oliver Platt.
Yes. That's his name, isn't it?
X-Men First Class.
Did I say Future Past?
And dies. Yeah, you did.
Well, First Class and dies.
Okay. Cool. Great character in The Bear.
I'm going to take this opportunity to say that I started watching The Bear.
Fantastic.
Well, I saw that the new season's imminent next week.
Yeah.
Week after?
It's coming.
Something like that.
It's coming.
So I, like a week and a half ago, started watching, and it's helpful that they're like half-hour-ish episodes. I actually watched an episode this evening before I went downstairs to record. I think I've seen the first 6 episodes, and there's 8 and 10 I think in the first 2 seasons, so third of the way there to catching up.
Yeah. And
it's very good. It's very good.
Excellent TV.
I'm enjoying. I both hate every character and love every character.
And love every character. Yeah. And this is my favorite thing about the show is the style of the first and second season are completely different. Where this is like first season very much is like setting the table, introducing to these characters, but very much following him. very much following the him. The Velguard. Where in the second season you actually get episodes dedicated to certain characters.
I have heard about that. Yeah.
So good. They're such great. Like normally when an episode like that comes up, you're like, damn it! Like it's like get me back to the storyline. Like I want to be in the storyline. But this manages to progress the storyline and also like give you a little bit of background on these people, like show you who they are. you're in for a treat. The second season is tremendous.
I have heard more so with the second season than the first season, but I had heard about a bunch of guest stars and all that.
Oh yeah.
I was not prepared and had not heard about the guest star that graced the cold open of episode 6, the one I watched tonight, which was John Bernthal playing Michael. Was not ready for that.
Oh yeah. There's a holiday episode.
That's the one that most people talk about, yes.
Oh, it's just so good. It's such a great episode. And if you like that, if you end up liking that episode, there's a movie called Feast of the Seven Fishes that you could watch next Christmas that has a very similar vibe. All of the family, like the chaos, the intricacies and family dynamics. Very good. Very good.
I feel like we get enough of that. I don't think we need
you need the movie
versions of it.
No, you do, because you're just like, some of these things are the things. It's great. But I'm glad you're watching it. It's such a great show.
I'm gonna guess I probably won't, depending on when the date is, fully catch up by the time it comes out, but I'll be close enough that I will certainly be there by the end of the season, you know?
Yeah.
Because a couple of times I've watched 2 episodes the same day, so.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. I'm watching a show that is excellent, but way heavier than the bear. We are finally deep into The Wire.
It's about time. You didn't tell me it started.
I didn't, because I was making sure that we were going to continue.
It's a super dark show, but also
the problem is, I was see Omar.
Omar, one of the absolute best characters in all of television history.
So great, so fantastic.
Oh shit, Omar coming!
yeah. Well, the episode we watched last night was in season 2 where he testifies, which was just a great,
putting him on the
performance.
stand is
yeah. Oh, so you're just kind of playing these people. You're using the system it's kind of like you. But it's so good. Well, so here's the thing: is I was really into it the first time we started watching it, but Kim fell asleep. We rewatched a few episodes. She wasn't really into it. We sat down to finally watch it again. It's been years since we started the last time.
Oh,
so we sat down to start watching it. She was into it, and we ended up burning through the first season, and then
the first
the second
3 episodes. There's a kind of a moment of okay, there's some stuff, but where are we going with this exactly?
Yeah.
The episode titled The Wire.
Yeah.
From then on,
yep.
If it doesn't grab you by the balls and drag you on a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
And I remember I was shocked. I know a lot of people have really mixed feelings about the second season. I know the first 2 or 3 episodes of the second season, I was also I was ready. It was whatever. I was fully hooked, but I was they sidelined the whole fucking cast. I fell in love with that cast from the first season.
Yep.
And I texted my buddy who had watched it and loved the show and referred it to me. This is now 8 years ago, whatever it was. I watched it. I was dude, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And he's just give it another episode or 2. I was all right. And then you see how they bring the whole main cast back
how they're going to connect them.
And it's
oh, this is good. And how they're going to keep them.
That
is
that is a ballsy way to make a show, man.
Yeah.
That is a ballsy way to make a show. And from then on, there's always going to be ups and downs, but it's such an incredible show.
I do wonder if in the writing of the first season, because it could stand alone as a single season season of a show, right? It could just be that's it. If they got canceled, it was a whole story.
Yeah. It could have been a miniseries if they wanted.
Which maybe that's maybe they didn't have the confidence in whether or not they were going to be having another season. But then to recover the way that they recovered, to pull the people back together, really, really well done. To create another really deeply entwined storyline between all of these different all of these crimes are connected. Somehow manages to pull all these people back into the same room. I mean, and
McNulty has
in their groove.
8 minutes of screen time in the first 2 or 3 episodes of the second season.
Yeah, I know.
And I was just what the fuck? Why did they even bother bringing him back?
Yeah, we call him McNutty based on
Bubbles.
Yeah. But so good. Really enjoying it. We're in the second season. They strangled D'Angelo. And we were like,
what's that in the prison?
In the prison.
Yeah.
And the way that they shot it and they framed it, I was like, did he fake dying so that the guy would stop strangling him? And then and then the next episode, it was just accepted that he was gone. Now it's like, oh, I guess we're doing that. It just didn't feel like a proper send off. But the implications of how it went down, I'm excited for those to come to light, and see what happens.
It's
Also, I've been sending Stringer Bell memes to people at work.
There are some really iconic memes that came out of this show. Stringer, like, tell the streets we're back up, like, fantastic. I don't think it's happened yet in the show, but Weibo, there's one where he's like, someone tells him something, he's like,
it's Weebay.
Oh, Weebay, whatever the fuck it was. I think I combined Weebay and Waingro from Heat into one person. That's what it is. Where he's like, oh shit. Like, I've always liked that one. There's a good handful of other ones. Pretty much anything with Brother Muzone, who has not shown up yet in the show, that's a later in the show thing. But
really great experience watching, like, I think it was 2 episodes ago, is the dumb son of the doc guy that, like, gets his drugs basically stolen, and they give him like $1, and then they want to steal his car, and Kim is like just like immediately she goes, "Is that Method Man?" And I was just like, I didn't even have time to clock anybody's face, and she pulled that out. Yes,
I forgot he was in that, but yeah.
It's really good. It's really good. I want to watch more.
Yeah, I mean, it's a heavy watch, but it is a fantastic show.
Oh, I've definitely been watching too many episodes and then going to sleep and being, like, way too anxious and, like, not falling asleep. But it's
a dark world out there, man. The creator, David Simon, was a reporter in Baltimore for a long time.
Ah, okay.
This whole show is informed by what he watched happen in real life in the city that he's lived in forever. And it's really sad. The final season really tackles the whole idea of being a reporter in Baltimore, because every season has a theme. Mm-hmm. The first is about specifically the war on drugs, right?
Right.
Now that's going to carry through the whole show, of course.
Sure.
But the second season is about the docs. The third season's about the politicians.
We're rapidly approaching that. So yeah.
And the fourth season's about the schools, or vice versa. I always forget which one of those is which. It kind of all blurs for me at this point. And the fifth season's about the reporters.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, all the other things continue happening, but, like, that's the main theme of each season.
But I just loved how, like, actually, I know this is becoming the Wire talk, but we're going to sit on this for a second. After the first season, I think the McNulty's, like, last line is like, "What the fuck did I do?" D'Angelo gets 20 years. Avon gets, like, 7. Like, it's such a mess, right? Like, the way that it all goes down in the end because of all the stupid politics that are playing and, like, preventing him from doing his job. So I was curious how people spoke about the first season. So I went online, which you should just never do. And
we talked about that a few minutes ago.
Yeah, and it was like people complain, like, talking about how, like everything that I read was how, like, he was always trying, like, McNulty's always trying to show off and always trying to be the smartest person in the room and all this stuff. And I'm like, am I crazy? That is not the vibe that I got. The vibe that I got is that he is a good cop. Like, I mean, there's definitely a little bit of a kind of, like, jockeying like that. Like, he knows he's good at certain things, but, like, he very much is about the work. He's not. I don't think that he's necessarily a great person.
He's not that,
but he is dedicated. Like, he wants to be the cop. Like, he wants to do the work. He's the only him and oh my god, her name is left my brain.
Oh, at this point, I forgot most of the characters' names.
What the hell is her name?
There's McNulty and Bunk, and there's
yeah. Anyway, McNulty and the one woman, like, they're both, like, I feel like they're both tried and true. Like, they are about solving the case. Like, they are about the work. And I maintain that through the entire first season. And I think everybody's constantly telling him that he's up his own ass, and he starts to believe it. That's how I took it.
Well, it's also one of those things that they don't have to be mutually exclusive.
Yeah. I don't.
He can both be pretty serious about trying to get like the sols, but also be up his own ass. Like,
yeah, no, I agree with that. But like everything was like harping on the fact that he's like he was doing all of this stuff selfishly for like credit or something. Where I just didn't take that. I don't get that.
It's definitely
it does an injustice to the character though. No, I don't know, man. I don't see it.
There is a very performative aspect to his motivations. I'm not saying it's the lead motivation, but it's always there.
How so?
You're gonna ask me for specific examples. I can't because it's been too long.
Yeah, I don't. I'm continuing to watch the show with that kind of lens that people have like keep harping on, and I keep disagreeing with it throughout my experience with the the characters.
To boil it down to like that being his only thing is not accurate, but to ignore it is also not true either.
No, I think it's giving it's I wouldn't ignore it, but it's getting far too much weight.
Yeah, I mean that's probably true.
But it is really good. I really love it.
At least you get the opportunity here to enjoy some more Lance Reddick too.
Yeah. Oh, that was and that's kind of what I was getting. Like he's a really good cop, and Shonda, is that her name?
If you say so.
She's like a really good cop, but everybody else is kind of sketch or slacking. But then they start to like Herc, for example, who is just a tool bag.
Yeah, he's a meathead. Right.
But then by the end of the first season, the Lance Reddick character sees him, overhears him talking to like these two guys about like how, or about like real police work. And like, he's like bought into it now because of this detail. Right. Yeah. And then, and like even Lance Reddick's character, where it's like, he seems like he doesn't want to be doing the work, but like he actually underneath it all, like somewhere deep down inside is that good cop.
Well, he's just jaded, right? Like he just feels like he's useless.
And having these people at near in his proximity brings that back out in him.
Sparking.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And then Lester, just a tremendous character in the first season,
yes,
completely sitting in the background solving the case. Like
while playing with his little models and shit, right?
It's so good. And then Presbeluski, just the turn of his character from just an idiot, right, to figuring out his niche and like, actually, I am good at this stuff. There's actually parts of this that I'm really good at, and then like focusing on, and then like loving the work.
There's parts of it he's not good at.
Well, yeah. Well, I guess we'll when he got into the puzzle solving pieces in the first season and where he's at right now,
his heart's in the right spot, but he's got his flaws. He's not a bad person, but he's got his flaws, though.
He's definitely flawed. But like finding that and that being like the thing that he is good at, and then like becoming a good cop. Like I feel like like McNulty set that example, and the domino started to fall.
I'll be curious to see, because I don't exactly. I know he's in the show, but I don't remember what. He's got a pretty small role. I'll be curious to see, I think it's in the third season that his role really takes off, what your thoughts are on Bunny Colvin. I think that was his name. Bunny something. He's one of the captains or something like that. He's I'm trying to remember the name of the actor. I can't even give you that. His first name is definitely Bunny in the show. It's not Robert Wisdom, is it? Is that the name of the actor? Am I thinking of the wrong person? No, that is him, isn't it?
Colvin.
It's Bunny something.
Colvin.
Yeah, okay. I was right.
Colvin. Is he already in the show?
I thought he was.
Well, yeah, okay.
I thought he was one of those guys.
He comes in this season.
Yeah, he's kind of in the background a lot, but then he's one of like the main characters, I think, in the third season.
Okay, gotcha.
I'd be curious to see what you think about him.
Also, wasn't expecting Father Gabriel.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, there was a few. What's his name?
Kima. Shakima.
Yeah, that's right.
Sanja is her actual name.
Mm. Oh,
Shakima Kima Greggs.
There's a bunch of people from The Walking Dead in this.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned Father Gabriel. Chad L. Coleman. I don't know if he's been in the show yet for you. I think he might also be a season 3 character. He was Tyrese in The Walking Dead. Right? Not Tyrese? There was
I have already clocked some people from
Lawrence. Was it Lawrence? Is it Lawrence something? The guy you talked about, D'Angelo, who got
Yep. He was in it.
I think there's a handful of other people, maybe, but those are the 3 big ones for sure.
Anyway, The Wire. It's been great. Finally into it.
I'm glad it's working out for you.
Yeah.
What else do I have? Oh, so for Memorial Day, my dad wanted to watch a war movie. Specifically, he wanted to watch a movie he had never seen before. So we watched Empire of the Sun.
Okay.
You ever seen it?
The title is super familiar. Let me look it up.
Very young Christian Bale, like 12 years old Christian Bale,
Mm-hmm.
who is the lead in the movie. Which
Yes.
it's a tough ask for someone that age. John Malkovich,
No, I haven't actually seen it.
Pantaleono.
I'm familiar with it, but I
Couple
haven't
other
seen
people.
it.
But good movie. Really not what I thought it was going to be. It's about a British kid who is caught amidst the war in China during World War II under the Japanese invasion.
Okay.
I thought it was going to be like a war movie, and certainly a movie about a war. But it's about this kid this kid who was the son of a rich family living in China, in Shanghai, I want to say, right before like the Japanese full blown invaded China.
Okay.
And where like they had this whole like new London thing over there, which I had no idea that was that to that level. Like there was a bunch of wealthy British people over there, and they had like that whole area's like society like in the palm of their hands, and it all just falls apart like overnight. And just watching these people trying to escape and watching this kid get left behind and have to try and fend for himself and end up in a Japanese internment camp in China with a bunch of other British and Americans, and watching him try to make his way amongst all of this. It was an interesting watch.
Nice. I think I wanted to see it years ago, and I never got to it.
Definitely worth the watch.
I'll check it out.
It was just really not what I expected. I don't know what I expected. I guess I expected more actual war for whatever reason, and like there isn't really like big battle scenes or anything like that. It's like about this kid finding a way to fend for himself, like immediately before and then like during the occupation as it's getting set up, and then a lot of the movie takes place with him in this camp and all that. So
Interesting.
very young Ben Stiller.
Oh. I watched a movie on the other end of the spectrum from this.
Okay.
Kim and I were like, we sat down for dinner and we are just like, I just want to watch a movie. Like, I don't want to put on a show right now. I don't want to watch another like 3 episodes or something. I want to watch a movie. And we scrolled through Netflix for like 10 minutes and stopped on something and watched it, which is incredible because that like never happens when you're scrolling through. But we watched Queen Pins.
I don't think
I heard about this.
Know this one now.
So it's about this woman who all right, I'll go a little bit deeper just to give the story a little bit of justice. She is in an unhappy marriage. She's a former Olympic speed walker, which is irrelevant. It's just a funny. It's based on a true story, so like it's a funny it's a funny thing that just happens to be a note in the movie. But it's she's like unhappily married because like her husband's a dick, but they tried to have kids. It wasn't working. They did like 4 rounds of IVF. It didn't work. They put financial stress on them. They drifted apart. He now like finds a way that with his work, he's like basically gone for 3 weeks out of the month. Like it's a bad place. And she kind of has like poured her mental efforts into like, it's basically extreme couponing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And she she goes to the store and based on all these coupons and like racks up $100-something bill, uses all the coupons, it comes down to $7, right? Like that type of thing. And so she's just kind of living this way. And like they have like this what was going to be the nursery is like kind of backfilled with all of these like a whole 80 bottles of Tide because she bought them on the discount. It's like $600-something worth of laundry detergent that she bought for $14, like things like that, right? And it's like, so she's like obsessing into this thing. That's where like if you want to talk about like if your mileage is what you want to get out of it, it's like if you focus on like what it did to her and how she was broken by the experience of not being able to have the child and like the failed IVF rounds and all of the and like all the decisions and like she now like focuses fully on this thing so that she's not focusing on something else. Like it's actually a very dark concept and story. But what it turns out is like she has a friend that lives across the street that is also hustling like to get things done, like has her own business and is trying to make it like a brand on YouTube and like all this stuff. She ends up complaining because she opens a box of cereal and it's stale and complains, and the manufacturer gives her a free box of cereal coupon. Then comes to find out that, oh yeah, this is pretty standard. If you complain to the manufacturer, they just give you free coupons, like fully paid. So they come up with this entire scam of like, well, these coupons are printed at this place. If we can get somebody on the inside, like coupons when they're printed have excess that get cut off and like thrown away. If we could somebody on the inside to take those for us and then we sell them for half their value, right? So they this like $40 million coupon scam. Like it's bananas, and it's just really.
I was gonna say, everything you were saying so far is like, yeah, you can see these people are being like annoying, but like there's got to be some other shoe to drop here, and there it is.
So that's the thing, and
it's basically Office Space but coupons.
Yes. But with a tremendous cast of characters. Okay. And they are all so funny. It's like one of those movies where they all either know each other before or they all must have clicked when they got on set, if not, because the chemistry is off the charts.
I mean, I looked it up like quick. I know Kristen Bell is the lead, but the other names were only vaguely familiar to me. So
are you, I mean, at this point, I feel like you got to be familiar with Paul Walter Hauser.
The name is familiar. I couldn't.
If you click on him, you'll recognize his face. But I just think he is so funny. But between Kristen Bell and Kirby, like those two like the pairing of those two characters against Paul Walter Hauser and Vince Vaughn, who are working like trying to figure out what's going on. Like Paul Walter Hauser's a loss prevention officer for a supermarket, and Vince Vaughn is a postal investigator, or like it's basically the mail police. Okay. And it's just this ridiculous romp, and it's so funny. It's dark and it's funny, and it's just like it's just so well executed. There's not a slowdown in the entire movie. The pacing is perfect. It was such a fun watch, even if it is a little bit depressing here and there. Like it was just really a fun movie to watch. I highly recommend it. I came out of nowhere.
Okay, the only thing I can actually place him in is Super Troopers 2.
So he, if you ever get to it, he's in Cobra Kai.
He's been in a bunch of things I've heard of but haven't watched.
Mm-hmm. And he has an excellent part in the After Party season 2.
Yeah, I saw him on there, but I didn't watch that.
Oh my goodness!
I know you
so ridiculous. I find his delivery and comedy to be just absolutely top notch. He cracks me up every time I see him. But that's Queen Pins.
It's an interesting little stumble, right? That's kind of a cool thing to just like stumble on and end up liking.
Yep, I agree. Any other consumption?
So I have one I have kind of two that I'll put into one thing. I know a couple, 2 years ago, talked about me and some of the guys going up for a long weekend in Cape Cod. So we did 2.0 this past weekend.
Nice.
Long weekend, whatever. Obviously, great time. Got mostly lucky with the weather. It was a little rainy the first day we got there, and then it was really nice the next couple of days. Got a little time on the beach. Brought out a little camp grill, grilled on the beach. Played a little cornhole, had some beers, grilled up some some burgers on the beach. Beautiful day.
Nice.
Had some good times out there. Played a little poker, all that fun stuff.
Love it.
So I usually do most of the, if not all of the cooking when we go. So I was cooking breakfast the first morning. We got up there like early afternoon, or some of us early afternoon, some late afternoon, whatever, on Thursday. So Friday morning, I'm cooking breakfast. Someone puts on the TV the Tom Brady roast. I don't know if you watched it.
I saw clips of it.
I don't remember if we even talked about it on the show because I had no interest in it because fuck Tom Brady. But that's also kind of the point of a roast.
Yeah.
So I came around once I heard it was good. I didn't know who all was going to be in it. I didn't realize they were going to get all of those like actual big roasts, like Jeff Ross and Nikki Glazer and all them. Like I didn't know they were all going to be a part of it. I thought it was just going to be other like the sycophants that have been around, which like some of them are, but they actually did a pretty good job just by just being football players, not like comedians or whatever.
Yeah.
So I probably consumed 75% of the roast while I was working, but it was funny. It was a good time.
Yeah.
It was definitely worth the watch. There's some good laughs. I mean, it definitely has a greater appeal to someone who's a football fan because there's going to be a lot of specific references to things that if you're not a fan of sports, like you wouldn't necessarily get.
Sure.
But there was enough, I think, overall appeal. I did stumble upon something that I got a light Krugering on. I did not know who Tony Hinchcliffe is. I don't know. You know more about comedians than I do, so I assumed you knew who it was.
Tony Hinchcliffe?
I think that's what his name was. Tommy or Tony, one of those. He's got some show that is like, I heard it described as kind of sort of like American Idol for comedians.
Okay.
Where apparently there's like kind of like a panel of comedians who like rate some stand up and help them get started or get them exposure for whatever. I don't know. But I'd never heard of him before this. And they did this whole thing where I guess he's got the show like Kill Tony and, people do whatever. And he hands off the mic to Dana White, who did like a minute on Brady. And then he just walks up to the dais. This is Tony. And he's just walking along it. And it's just like one joke on every person. And just like fucking like knocked it down like a set of dominoes.
All right. I'll have to find that.
I was like, oh my God, he's fucking fantastic. And I did not know who this guy was.
Yeah.
And then like a few days later, separate from the roast, because the roast happened like over a month ago, they were talking about him and his show on one of the offshoot podcasts of the Lebitard show.
Ah.
And I was like, what are the odds? I feel like I would have remembered it because they talk about a lot of like comedians and shit on the show. And I don't remember them ever talking about him. They probably mentioned him, but I don't remember them talking about him when the roast came out. They talked about like all of the people and like I knew most of the names. I don't remember hearing, but like I remember hearing about one of the other people who's on who I didn't know. And so when that person's like thing came up, like I recognized from when they were talking about it. It was weird.
Sure.
I didn't remember them talking about him. So
I'll have to check that out. That sounds fun. That sounds right up my alley. Nice. Any other consumption?
No, the only other thing I had on here was for our after the Acolyte
at night. So. Yeah, sounds good. I will say one final mention for it's in a video game land. I've been playing Ocarina of Time.
Oh, was there like a remaster, or is this like the original one?
So there is a project online. It's an emulation project where you have to get a very specific version of the ROM, and then you have to make a couple tweaks to the actual code, and then you can run it. And it runs. So I've been playing this on my Steam Deck. It's called like Ship of Harkinian.
This wasn't something you could have like downloaded on that Raspberry Pi that you made.
No, probably not. I don't know if there's one that would run on that. There might be. You can do it on your computer, but I did it on my Steam Deck, and so I've been playing it there. But it's full widescreen support. It's up-res like 8x, and it looks incredible. There's a tweak in it where you can make the right stick actually be a camera, because the game didn't support that back when it came out. So it's a free look, which makes the game infinitely more playable because now it feels like a modern video game, and it's the best way to experience that game.
That was an N64, right?
Yeah, and I never beat it. So it's been
I never
really
played
fun.
it. I know it's like a legendary
Oh
game,
my
but I never
god,
played
it's
it.
so good. I think you'd really enjoy it. And it's just I've just been having a blast with it. It's like it's got such a gravity to it. Like the music is incredible, the story is dark and heavy and really interesting. The concepts are really. It's just like it's a world class video game. Like it's unreal.
Yeah, I mean,
And this is the best way to play it. It's like the best. It's the best the game has ever been.
yeah, no, I mean that sounds like a cool thing, especially if you have like regard for it. I always am like wary about like trying to go back and playing something older like that because I'm like so out of that headspace now. And like the Zelda games, I'm sure we've talked about on the show before. The only one I've ever played was Oracle of Seasons, which I did really enjoy, but you know it's a Game Boy game, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Anyway, I'm older. I'm older Link now, and I've beat one temple. I beat the Forest Temple, so I've got some stuff to do still, but I've got a ways to go. But I'm having a blast with it.
good.
But I think that's it for consumption. Well, with that, let us get into our flick of the week. Madam Web, released in 2024, rated PG-13 with a 1 hour and 56-minute runtime. Your IMDb synopsis. Cassandra Webb is a New York metropolis paramedic who begins to demonstrate signs of clairvoyance. Forced to challenge revelations about her past, she needs to safeguard 3 young women from a deadly adversary who wants them destroyed.
I mean, insofar as this movie was about anything, I suppose that's accurate.
That's fair. Let's start off with your Toot-length review.
Worse than Morbius, because at least Morbius tried to do a couple unique things and have a couple ideas, parenthetically. Horrible ideas, but ideas nonetheless. Why does this movie exist? It's boring bad, which is the worst kind. It's not even worthwhile as a CPR training video. The Office did that better too. 3 out of 10.
Wow, 3 is something. I'm very surprised by that. This is what I was laughing about earlier, that I said you were going to have to wait a couple hours to be in on the joke.
I figured it was probably...
Madam Web, a tangled mess of missed opportunities and lackluster storytelling, wooden performances, and stale visual disappointment. 0 out of 10.
I can't give it to 0. It's got to at least be a 1 because Adam Scott tried to do something. He showed up and he was a professional, goddammit.
I'm knocking off a point because of how they don't deserve him.
They don't, but my point is he was a goddamn professional. He showed up to work every day.
He really did. You know, so I retroactively make it a 1 out of 10.
Sure, yes.
I would sooner watch The Phantom Thread.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So also, like, separate to this, the fact that I can even reference that this is worse than Morbius, and I went back to find my
did the work.
records to note this. And you know what I forgot? Was that was the last episode we were supposed to do for the hiatus, and we didn't do it, and you made me watch that goddamn movie, and we didn't even get an episode out of it. And I'm very mad.
We didn't do Morbius?
No, I have no notes on that. I deleted that note page because we didn't end up recording it.
No way.
That was the one we were going to do.
Well, I feel like I remember talking about Morbius.
Because it was October. We were going to do it for Halloween.
What?
Or, you know, right before Halloween anyway. And we didn't do it because we started the hiatus a week early.
Really?
I'm 99% sure.
No.
I didn't go back to look for the episodes, but I don't have a note card.
We talked about Morbius.
We talked about it when we came back from the hiatus. I just...
No.
Because
hang on.
Didn't do the episode.
I'm going. Hang on. I gotta get...
If you can find the episode, that's fine, but I don't have a note card for it. And I don't delete them. They're all saved here.
I assume that the word Morbius would be in the title. It's Morbin time.
I mean, we talked about Morbin time. We didn't do the episode. We talked about the movie a bunch.
Wow.
Like when it came out.
That's insane.
It is insane. You're correct.
I would have put money on the fact that we did an episode on Morbius.
I
That's
thought
crazy.
we did too. And as I'm like sitting here going, how is this the one note card that I don't have? Is they're all listed in a row because I put in the title of my cards episode, whatever number, and then the title of the movie, and it's not in there, and there's no break in the numbers. And then I'm looking at the dates, and I was like, oh my god, that was the one we were supposed to do. We had to go on hiatus the week before we anticipated.
Wow.
And I was like, because I was going to make sure that the score, because I was like, this was worse than that. because at least I had a couple of moments. Like Morbius is bad. It's bad.
It's
but
really bad.
At least like there was times where I was laughing like at or with the movie. Like
sure,
there was moments I was entertained by the movie where I was like I wasn't really ever entertained by this, which is what I'm saying. It's like it's just boring bad. Like there's nothing in it that's like even like The Room where it's like, oh, like there's a boom mic hanging or something like that. Like or this is the worst performance I've ever seen. Like there was bad performance, but not like the worst performance.
There was really bad dubbing.
There was some of that too. The ADR doesn't always add up, like our lineup. They even
there were straight up scenes where the guy was talking and his mouth was closed.
Oh, it wasn't even one of those things where like there was kind of a side shot and you could see his mouth wasn't moving, but I don't remember.
No, it's a scene.
You think I watched it that level of detail?
No, the reason why I clocked it was because it was I don't know, his partner, whoever is at the computer. His girl in the chair. Yeah, she's there and he's over her shoulder and he's talking to her and his mouth doesn't move. And I was like, surely my brain just did something there. And I rewound it and it happened again. And I was like, I don't understand.
There was some obvious ADR moments, but I don't think I even clocked that one. That would be the worst one or the worst type of one. I'm not surprised. I don't remember it. They even found a way to drag down, I forget, is it Carrie Bechet, the actress who played the mother in the opening scene? She's a good actress. I like her. And they made me want to not like her in that scene.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's not her fault. I mean, she's not the level of actor I think that Adam Scott is, but she's a fine actress. She was really good in Hold and Catch Fire. I liked her in that. That was a good show. It was a really good show.
Let us focus on that because Adam Scott really did, like...
He did yeoman's work.
Consummate professional. Yeah. What are you doing? Like, that's insane. The fact that you cared, like, enough to... You put on a whole part. You did it. It didn't call for it, but you did it.
And I want to be fair. I want to be fair to Dakota Johnson. Like, she's probably a bad actress. Like, she is. It's fine. But, like, they just set her up to fail. Forget about not helping her. They were actively... she was drowning, and they were stepping on her head. Come on. Like, that's not... It's unprofessional. And, we know that for a fact because if you watch the press, around when the movie came out, she was like, I didn't know that this was this movie that we were making. She thought they were in a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious there was some lies going on in the making of that movie. They changed shit on the fly.
I was just reading something that she fired her talent agency, instantly afterwards.
Yes!
Yeah. That's
and she wasn't the only one who said that. She was just the one who said it the most strongly, which makes sense because she was the star of this movie, and so far there was a star. But Anthony, I want to do something different this episode.
Okay,
I'm going to take the reins a little bit.
Okay, but before you do that, though, I need to explain to you why I was cracking up so much about my Toot-length review.
Okay,
because before this show, I was like, I need something good for this one. I was like, this movie, it did break me. The movie broke me. You saw at some point during this episode. I think I'm just going to read the text.
Nope, that's why I'm taking the reins.
That's what you're going to. Okay, so you'll read the text. That'll be great. That's because that's all we need to do. But I was like, how do I capture Madam Web in a Toot-length review? And it turns out there's only one answer. You tell ChatGPT to do it. So that is where that. That Toot-length review is. I said, write me a tweet-length scathing review of Madam Web. It missed the mark entirely and gave me 4 paragraphs. And I was like, trim that down to 140 characters. And that's what it gave me.
Okay.
And I posted it. But before we move on, I haven't read the 4 paragraphs. And I would like to read them now.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So Madam Web is like a spider spinning a web of disappointments and boredom. This movie is a tangled mess of missed opportunities and lackluster storytelling. From its convoluted plot to its wooden performances, Madam Web fails to ensnare the audience in its supposed intrigue.
Okay.
The titular character, instead of being a fascinating focal point, is reduced to a meal caricature. I think it's probably should be mere. I'm going to stick with it. A meal caricature lacking depth of any semblance of complexity.
So they didn't salt the pork chops in it?
It's as if the filmmakers took a fascinating comic book character and decided to drain her of all charisma and mystique. The visuals are as stale as week-old bread. offering nothing new or visually stimulating. Even the supposed action sequences feel choreographed by someone with a severe case of arachnophobia, lacking any real
That's where the AI really shone there.
yeah, lacking any real excitement or tension. Madam Web is a prime example of how not to adapt a beloved comic book character to the big screen. It's a tedious slog that will leave audiences wishing they had spent their time doing something more productive, like watching paint dry or counting the cracks in the sidewalk. Which I think is wonderful.
Harsh but fair.
I'm going to copy the prompt that I gave it and replace the word scathing with glowing. I'm curious what it would spit out. Glowing review. All right, here we go. Oh, it actually gave me a tweet length one this time. Madam Web weaves a mesmerizing tale.
They couldn't find much that was written about it. So,
Madam Web weaves a mesmerizing tale, embracing the essence of the beloved character with captivating storytelling and stunning visuals. A must-watch.
Wow.
That's what those are the things that they printed on the posters.
Sure.
Anyway, that tickled me when it spit out that review. So
earlier I was going to say I need to read some of these. I'm going to read all these texts. I was going to say I need to read all these texts because man, I watched it a couple weeks ago and I feel like I barely remembered it. And then I remembered. I didn't watch it a couple weeks ago. I watched it. Oh, actually, no. Was it a couple weeks ago? Were we supposed to record 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago?
1 week.
It was 1 week. Okay. We were supposed to record a week ago. So I watched it the Tuesday night before we were going to record. It feels like it was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That's faded that much in my mind. And I was like, I need to go back. I was like, oh, this is perfect. I'm going to read some of these texts. It's going to trigger some prompts in my mind. It's going to trigger some prompts in your mind. So this is how I want to do this. So just for the record, for the audience,
Okay.
Anthony watched this across 2 nights. I think it was Monday night and Tuesday night, or Sunday night and Monday night, whatever it was.
I think it was a night and a morning, but yeah.
All I know is I got a bunch of texts from you and you were like, you definitely fell asleep.
Yeah.
Because you started texting me this series of texts and I was literally laying in bed about to go to sleep because I was really tired.
Yeah.
It's a little earlier than I normally go to bed, although it's like probably when I should go to bed. And I was like literally about to fall asleep and my phone just starts going off. And I was like, what the fuck? And you sent me 5 texts at 10 o'clock. And I was like, what the fuck? Anthony doesn't usually send me 5 texts at 10 o'clock on a weeknight. So I open the phone and it's just a stream of consciousness. And it's very obvious to me you would just put the movie on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and pick in my, like, as I'm looking at Here We Go, like every, like, once in a while. I'm going to read 1, 3, 5, whatever I think is a natural stopping point, and then one of us is going to jump off from there and discuss, because you did it chronologically. You tweeted through it. So this is how it started. 2 minutes in. Holy fuck, this is bad. Let's start there. Do you remember what happened 2 minutes in? It was during the cold open prologue.
I do.
What specifically prompted that text?
It was the the way she was talking about what seemed like resenting her child. That was part of it.
She hated that child that didn't exist yet.
Yeah. Which in the same movie they attempt to retcon, which is really funny.
Not attempt to retcon. They bold-faced were like,
they pretended
this isn't just this isn't a plot twist anymore. We're just gonna flat out like gaslight you on what happened in the opening of the movie.
Yeah. But then she got the spider, and this guy who we're introduced to with like some very bizarre accent. And I say that because it seems bizarre, and now only in hindsight do I realize that the reason why it felt that way is because it never matched his lips.
It felt like he wasn't sure, he hadn't quite settled on one at any point in the movie.
Right. But then he's like, I've been looking for the spider. He looks through her book, right? And then finds like a spider in her journal. And then he shoots people, and he rips the spider out of her hand, and he shoots her in the baby. So I'm not entirely sure how there's a movie.
Sorry, you said he shot her in the baby?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed that. I'm fairly certain the gun was against her stomach.
I interpreted it as like vaguely chest area.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. It doesn't. We're already giving it too much credit.
That's fair.
And he's like, I've been looking for this spider forever, and like,
because of Los Arañas.
And he went on a murderous rampage, and I was just like, it was very clear, not 30 seconds ago, that you didn't know a whole lot about the spider.
I'm gonna give him the bit, the tiniest bit of grace that he's just a bad liar, and he was trying to cover up the fact that, like, because he said that like a liar.
So I reach into my pocket and I pull out another lie.
Okay. Anything on the scene where some random people in the Amazon decided to have a spider bite this dying pregnant woman, or
no notes?
Okay. Oh, Jesus Christ, Ben Parker.
Right.
I'm gonna be honest. I had a similar thought.
I was like, it was. I mean, I already knew I was in for it because I had heard bad things, right? And then I saw a few minutes, and I knew I was in for it. And then I was like, Ben Parker. Oh, we're gonna do this to just so that everybody and their mother can turn to the person that they're watching this movie with and be like,
"That's Ben Parker.
That's Spider-Man's uncle." Like, it's that one guy.
Hey, look, it's that one guy.
Yeah.
I had heard that they play this game all movie, that we're not supposed to know that it's going to be Spider-Man, even though we know it's going to be Spider-Man. It was so much worse in the execution than I had heard.
Wait, we're not supposed to know. Wait, say that again? We're not supposed to know that?
Well, because they say his name is Ben Parker, but then, like, they don't when they're playing the guessing game for the kid, they don't never say the name.
Oh.
You know.
Right, but it's Ben Parker's nephew, but we don't.
Yeah,
we're not supposed to know.
Yeah,
that Peter who has.
Well, my point is
Peter who has no cousins.
Yeah, no, but like they keep playing like a joke the whole time, where it's like, oh, let's play guess the name, and then they never say the name and all that shit, and like they never say her name, and they never whatever. Like it's like just a stupid thing. Whatever.
Got it.
Who gave Dakota Johnson any job? This was very early. This was your third text.
Right. This was, I'm pretty sure.
Let me help you out here, because it was before the text you sent me that said, that's way too much Chinese for two people.
Okay.
Remember they had way too much Chinese?
I remember what this was. First off, she's delivering... Do you remember years ago, before any sort of intelligent assistant type thing, there was a computer program called Bonzi Buddy. It was a little monkey or a gorilla, and you would type something and it would speak it.
Okay. I remember Microsoft Sam.
That's her line delivery. And that's what I was like, what is like, I was like, what, just completely dead eyes, right?
There is a line that she says while they're eating the Chinese food. I don't even remember what the line was. That was like, you could not be more monotone. Like, she nailed it. Use that if you want something to be monotone.
But it was, she could be more dead. It's like completely dead eyes. Like, she might as well not have the eyes, which she loses eventually.
Because she's reading off a cue card, because they changed the script 45 seconds before shooting the scene.
And then delivers the scene with zero emotion. And then the entire time, she's fiddling with product placement.
There's in the worst of
possible way. She like can't open a can of soda. Like, that's I go back and watch it.
Are you sure she couldn't open the can, or was she just was there someone whispering in her ear, "You gotta turn it so we can see the label"?
It was probably that, but like she's like, but it looks like she's like cleaning it, and then trying to get her fingernail under the tab, and then cleaning it again, and then trying to get her finger under the tab.
Oh, so it's a continuity error then?
No, it was all the same scene.
Okay,
it never cuts away.
Okay,
it's bad. It's really hard to watch. And then you're like, oh, like, I mean, it makes sense. You know, like a Spider-Man movie is Coke and Madam Web is Pepsi. I get it. But it's, I think that's where that came from.
In support of all of these notes we have, note from the director, written by Anthony. Quote, "No, less emotion. Read it and read it fast. Make it known you don't know the lines. You don't respect the lines.
You don't respect the lines. I remember that.
So this is what I responded, because I got the flood of texts like all at once. I said, I'm pretty sure she literally came out and said she didn't respect the lines. So this is the only thing I've ever seen her in other than Bad Times at the El Royale, so I don't have much opinion on her. Like, I know she's in the 50 Shades movies. Didn't see them. The books are trash from what I understand. The movies are worse trash from what I understand. Like, I'm not going to hold that against anyone. Like,
Yeah.
Kristen Stewart's a good actress. I don't hold Twilight against her. You know what I mean? Like,
hey, I enjoyed my Twilight deep dive.
That's great. What the actual fuck?
I don't remember. Is there any context?
Adam Scott, consummate professional.
Yeah.
Just pretending he's not the only one giving 100.
Yeah. Yeah. He came on the screen and performed, and I was like, that's a movie.
There's someone acting.
Yeah.
Not like, it's not even like he's acting well, because like, I'm sure he doesn't respect the lines either. He shouldn't. If the writer doesn't respect the lines, why should the actor?
But it was like, yeah, if I'm going to be here.
He did his job. He showed up and did his job. Like, at a certain point, sometimes you just literally have to show up and do your job. Like, that's all you're owed, and that's all you owe anyone. Why is the
He was like, I'm Ben Parker. Like, he's like, I'm gonna enjoy the fact that I'm Ben Parker.
Why is the CG spider so bad?
So bad. It was so, like, it was comically bad. It didn't look like a spider. It was giant and pink and moved like nothing I've ever seen in my life.
I'm going to read 3 in succession here. It's not a dream. I'm going to be murdered someday. Are the people CG? Oh my god, it hurts. That was when we were introduced to the girl in the chair. We were reintroduced to this guy who did an Amazon massacre and got bit by a spider to get its powers.
Mm-hmm.
And again, confusing accent. Was this the moment when he had the terrible dub?
No, it's one of the women's in the chair, and she's like tracking them.
Was this the first time where she's like, oh, we could just track them, but like, where she still doesn't actually try to track them, but then later she says again, oh, I think I've got a hit, even though we're watching her watch them on the screen and we know that she's successfully tracked them already?
Yeah, and I think they were basically just replaying the line of, they're going to take away everything I've built, which we still don't know what he built.
A company or something, I don't know.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter.
Adam Scott, this is me. Adam Scott, way too good for this movie. I almost got mad at him like I did Bill Skarsgård being in Barbarian, but then I remembered he probably got paid a lot, and good for him. But let's not do the show before the show. To which you responded, I can't get through this alone. And then you went back to tweeting the movie. Your last name is not fucking Webb. Which, I mean, I'll give him this much. It's not the first time a comic book character has had a horrible, horrible name that fits, like, the description of what they're doing.
Sure.
And then A2 Emma Roberts. This is the scene where they were having the baby shower.
Yep. Yeah.
Which, again, was, I guess, the first time we saw her clairvoyance thing. She keeps re-seeing those scenes when she's, like, at the barbecue.
Yeah, I feel it's the bar. I think it's during the barbecue that it all is where it all starts happening. It doesn't matter. But yeah.
I said just laugh the pain away.
Oh, yeah, that whole thing where she was like, we already played this game.
Yeah.
And I was like, ugh.
Not good.
Groan.
You said groan?
Yeah. Just to mirror the quality of the
Honestly,
film.
there was more emotion in you saying the word groan than there was in a lot of these lines.
You know what ends up being the best scene of the movie? Is when she tries to climb the wall.
And she fails.
And she just slides.
You're right, that was a good scene. I laughed.
It's the only funny part of the movie. But it also, like, the look on her face in doing that it's like, and there it is. Like, that's how you feel about this entire experience. it's just defeat. I
said, just laugh the pain away. Although, honestly, not even funny enough. Funny bad in this. And then you said, this is extraordinary triggering from others without warning and for no real reason. I don't actually remember what happened at that point, because this was she doesn't give birth till much later in the movie. So, she says something about, that's what it was. She says something about the fact that her mother died in childbirth. That's what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like,
Is that a lot?
it's very abrupt, and it goes a little bit further, and it just like, it was unnecessary.
She was like, yeah, my mother didn't want me anyway, and then she died.
Yeah. That was
basically what she said.
Yeah. Yeah.
I said the script is bad. And then you responded casual street CPR, to which I responded street PR. And then I said, this is a big CPR movie.
Maybe this is how we should do the show going forward.
No, but I think it's appropriate for this. We are disrespecting this movie the way it disrespected us. I said, this is a big CPR movie. You said, oh yeah, we're already 3 deep. And then you texted me, he's ducking stable, ? Street compressions for 40 minutes and he just wakes up. I feel like there's something C-level exec at Sony who just fucks with these movies due to some Marvel vendetta. She's been sobbing tearless for 4 straight minutes.
Oh yeah, that was a great scene. I was like, am I supposed to buy any of this? Because she's like hard crying, and her face is bone dry.
Bone dry, not a single hint of red in her eyes. This is when they go to that horrible fire and they're trying to CPR everyone on the street, and then the one guy in their crew goes to drive away, and she sees that he's going to die, but doesn't convince him to not drive away, and then he immediately dies.
Right. On that note, her delaying him getting into the ambulance, is that the reason he died?
Is that what?
Is that the reason he died?
Oh. Well, we're gonna get. I thought I was being a dick
we're
earlier,
gonna get time looping
talking
now.
about Back to the Future, but now we're going back to this scenario again. Yeah. So, by the way, this has been about half an hour of you texting me at this point. You said, "Is this guy's voice AI? You can mute me for the rest of the night. I'm gonna live text this whole fucking thing." And I actually did mute you. I don't usually do that very often.
Good on you.
I said, "Oh boy," and I muted you. You immediately resumed. Take a week off, get some rest, watch some old movies. # medical school. Oh, so you can? So sure, this EMT can afford this sweet one bed. Obligatory depression scotch. There's definitely a drinking game for all of the spiderweb glass cracks.
Oh my god, yeah! It just keeps happening.
They gotta make sense. They gotta make sure that you know it's about a web.
You know those old apps where you would tap the screen and it cracks?
Yes,
that's what all of the glass breaking looks like in this movie. It's the same crack. I'm
always fascinated by these movies and there's been a million think pieces written about this when there's like a show or a movie, like whether it be Friends or Sex and the City or New Girl, a million other shows, movies when someone has like a beautiful like New York City or LA apartment and like they're like a part-time bartender.
Yeah. Well, I will say I appreciate the fact that they explained it in Friends.
Sure,
they do address it.
They had enough.
They don't address the fact that they're always able to get the same seat in the same coffee shop all the time.
That's a good point.
Even though they're at one point, I think later on in the show, they start to there's a reserved sign on the table. So I guess you're supposed to just assume that they reserved it. But there's a great call out at one episode where they're all talking about their jobs and their bosses and how their bosses hate them. And Joey goes, maybe it's because you're all sitting around here at 10:30 on a Wednesday. And they all run out to go to work.
At least one time they addressed it. Okay.
Yeah. Which I appreciate.
There's no indication that it's near Christmas time. In fact, they were just at a barbecue.
Yes.
In New York City at a barbecue in December.
Yep.
Why the fuck is she watching A Christmas Carol?
Yep. And commenting on it. Like, it's not just an accident on the background in the movie. Like, they chose to put this on the screen. They chose that she'll be watching it, and they chose that she's going to mention it.
Yeah, it's not just something aimless that's happening. Yeah,
it doesn't have anything to do with anything.
At no point is there any indication that this is winter in New York.
Or a story about the Christmas Carol.
Sure. I mean, I guess at some point, right, we're getting the whole thing where, like, we're having, like, a Christmas story because it's, like, a baby born under strife and all that sort of stuff. But, like,
Wow, I didn't realize you could stretch that well.
I used to be very flexible.
Somebody's limber.
At one point, they're in the woods. It's very green, and they are not dressed for even fall, let alone winter.
Mm-hmm.
Wrong. PS Vita is not out yet. Actually, it's a PSP, I think, but it's still not out yet. This is an important note. going back to the whole thing about whether or not we were supposed to know that was going to be Peter Parker that was born.
Uh-huh.
Part of the reason that this shit is also choppy is that the different versions of the script, and even during the course of shooting the movie, they never settled on when this was supposed to take place. That's a fact. They didn't ever settle on what the time period was supposed to be for this movie, which is why you see crazy amounts of anachronistic shit in it.
Okay.
And they settled at the last minute on this is going to be the Tom Holland Spider-Man who's being born. That's why it's fitting with all of like this specific timeline. Like
they decided
early
that?
2000s, I believe.
They can't decide that. He's MCU.
Sony can do whatever they want, I guess. I don't know.
They can fuck right off.
Yeah.
But the PSP was not out.
Sure. I'm just saying that's why there was so many anachronistic things, because they changed their mind like 8 times during the course of writing the script when the movie was going to take place. Oh my god, get where you're going. This motherfucker has no shoes on the train.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have tickets for this train. Run! Parenthetical. They walk a little bit faster.
Wait, hold on a second. We need to talk about the shoes thing.
Yeah, why is he shoeless in that scene? There's no context for that at all. No explanation.
None.
He's in a suit and no shoes.
And no shoes. And it's like, blink and you miss it.
And then
I was like,
no, you can't miss it. It was very obvious he's not wearing shoes. They like cut to it. And then he's in his spider suit and he's got boots on.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Why didn't he have shoes on, though?
There is literally no excuse for him not to have shoes on in that scene.
I will point out that in future sequences, he also does not have shoes on. Anytime he's in that suit.
Because he's a spider and he's got to touch it with his... Remember in the first or second Spider-Man, they showed Tobey Maguire had the little things sticking out of his fingers?
Sure.
But then he's able to climb wearing a suit, and we're supposed to believe it's like a breathable fabric, and those little things come out of the fabric or whatever, right?
Yeah. So why doesn't he just wear the boots?
I don't know.
I don't like it. Well, you know what? This is a mystery that's going to haunt me, though, because at some point in the script, they
made a conscious choice for him to not have shoes on. You don't show up to set in a suit with no shoes on. Unless there's direction.
They never address it. It really got me. Did
he have a case of athlete's foot and they readjusted his contract?
Maybe.
I went through a lot of trouble to steal these tools for you. Use them better.
Oh my god, what a line.
Yeah, goes along with the line. Did you recognize my line from the opening? That was from this movie. It was awful.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Okay, good.
I'm familiar.
Good.
Don't make bad choices, right? Is that what it was? Or don't do bad things?
Don't do dumb things. And then followed up and reiterate, no, seriously, don't do stupid things.
Yeah.
That was when she leaves them alone in the woods.
Yep.
Which, by the way, while she's telling them, don't be dumb, don't do dumb things, she is doing the dumbest thing.
I don't remember if I texted you this. But she says, I'll be back in 3 hours.
We're almost there.
Okay.
Where is it? Ah! Spider people. I don't know what the context for that was. This is now an hour into you watching the movie at night. It's almost 11 o'clock.
Where is it?
Ah, spider people.
Spider people. Maybe she's looking for the spider when she dropped it in the Amazon?
Nope, she's not at the Amazon yet. I know that for a fact because listen to these next 3 texts. I have to leave for a week. I'm going to Peru. Parenthetically, holds up a picture in a random location, Peru. This is it.
Oh my god, she does see that.
It's 11:20 p.m.
She just gets to Peru, walks somewhere, opens a book, and is like, I found it. The spider... The area with the spider that the mom was looking for forever. And the guy was searching for his whole life. She just walked there. Fucking walked to Peru.
Walked to, unexplored section of Amazon, Peru.
Oh my god.
I realized in this, you skipped right over the whole sequence with her leaving them for 3 hours, stupidly, them doing whatever they were doing in that diner, and then her rescuing them. That was not, there was a 20-minute, almost 25-minute time jump here where you didn't send any text during that sequence.
I might have dozed off.
That's fair. To be fair, you dozed off right after this text, because that was 11:21 p.m., and then I received no more texts. And then I texted you at 7 a.m. the next day and said, what an adventure, and to think you're only halfway there.
So when I woke up, I fell asleep on the couch, right?
You responded 45 minutes later saying I full on fell asleep.
Yeah. But when I woke up that night on the couch, I almost cried because I was like, I still have to finish this movie. And I was like, I woke up and I was like, oh, I should go to bed. And I went, no. And then I went to sleep.
That was like that time that I almost had a full-blown panic attack while watching The Irishman and realizing there was... I was like, this movie's been going on for a long time. Surely it's almost over. And it was over an hour left. And I was like... It was like 4:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. And I was like, I don't want to watch this anymore. So, you told me you full-on fell asleep. Whatever. You did resume watching it. Not that morning, though. The next morning.
Right.
A day and a half between you watching.
I needed a break.
Text me 7:30 in the morning, a day and a half later. What is this telepathy communication shit all of a sudden? Parenthetically, I'm back at it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to remember what she's doing in that scene.
Oh, it's when she starts talking to him through the Force or whatever.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yes.
Because they never revisit that.
Right. They just do it once.
Why are these three girls in one bed?
Oh, yeah. There's 2 beds in the room.
Yeah, 2, like, full-size beds? Queen-size beds?
Queens. At least queens, yeah.
You would have thought 2 and 2, maybe? But the thing, the whole
2 and 1, because one of them left.
Well, she
comes back.
Ostensibly, she was supposed to be there.
When she comes back, they were awkwardly... One of them is laying on their right side, one of them is laying on their left side, and one of them is laying on their back, as if to demonstrate the various ways you can sleep on a bed.
We haven't talked about them at all at this point. The 3 girls.
Did they talk about them?
I mean, they existed on screen a lot. I mean, we got a lot of banter amongst all of them as they all talk shit about and to each other and game like these 2 are on the side against this one and these 2 are against the side on that one. And now all 3 of them hate each other. But now all 3 of them are like dancing for these random dudes in a diner making a huge scene when they shouldn't be found. And then like, we're all going to sleep together because best spider girlfriends forever or whatever.
Right. Yeah. And then we're going to become CPR buddies. You're like the best teacher I've ever had.
On that note, next text. Oh God, CPR training.
Yeah.
You're a good teacher. Is she?
Yeah.
Oh, right. I saw all of this. So you must have been dozing through this and then fell asleep.
I was in and out. And then I was mad that I rewatched the scene.
There is actually, that is annoying when you fall asleep and then you're like rewinding and you put it on. It's like, I have no memory of this. But then you remember something from like 90 seconds later and then you forget and you're going back and forth. And it's like, how are some of these memories in my brain and some of them are not when I watched this chronologically? Like,
terrible.
Yes, the Doctor Strange push. Why not?
Oh yeah, they did that to her.
Yeah.
The with great responsibility.
They Yoda'd it.
Yeah.
Didn't they Yoda it? It's almost exactly the same words, but they rearranged the order of it.
It's like, yeah, if you have great power, responsibility will come. It was
yes.
It was some.
They basically Yoda'd it.
And I was like, why are you doing this?
Hang on a second. You put the quote in here. If you take on the responsibility, great power will come.
That's it.
Just barfed a little.
Yeah.
Her mom wasn't a total self-absorbed bitch. This was the gaslighting / retconning we were talking about before.
Yep.
Chekhov's pregnant sister-in-law.
She did it to save her life.
when they hit her to unnamed Aunt May starts. Or no, sorry, it wasn't Aunt May, right? This is the sister-in-law, which I always forget what Spider-Man's parents are named. It doesn't matter. But yeah, in the middle of the night, oh God, this is happening now because we don't have enough shit already going on in this movie that really there isn't actually that much going on in. I might have something. I'd say you picked up the exact person you're looking for on live video. That's what I was talking about before. I remember watching this. She's like, I might have something. And she's already narrowed the feed to exactly the people she's looking for. And it's like, come on.
And I think it may be in that scene, the thing that I'm talking about, where like he's over her shoulder. Also, who is she?
I didn't care enough to even look back and find out who she is.
Not like actress-wise. Who is she?
Like, I thought you meant the actress. She's his henchman or whatever. I don't know. Does it matter? She, like, is his...
I don't like when he walks around his office and fiddles with a spider.
Well, he's one of Las Arañas, so...
I don't like... He's my Sharona. I don't...
She's one of... She's one of my Sharona.
Oh, God.
Shockingly, this movie is not over, and thus the texts are not. Oh, good, we saved the girls. Fuck the people in that other cab, am I right?
Yeah, they just completely wreck an entire family.
I forget, what did he like fire a rocket at them? What did he even do? I don't remember. Or throw a grenade? Like, what did he do?
It was a grenade of sorts, and then they like knock it out of the way, and it slides under a cab of people.
Did he like Green Goblin them, or it was a regular grenade?
No, it was a fancy grenade.
I don't remember. I was getting a little tired.
It's probably one of the everything he built.
One of the everything he built. I couldn't have said it better than myself. And both of us just said it better than they ever could, so... I did not fall asleep watching this movie, but this part I was tired and I was just like, this can end. It can.
When she drives that ambulance out the second story and hits him with it.
I will give him this much. There's a couple of shocking she runs him over aggressively with a car scenes.
Yeah,
I kind of chuckled a couple times she did that.
A good number of them. Yep.
The fucking villain is like a soap star in bad cosplay.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the other thing. His costume is terrible. His costume really does look like
it's circa 2005.
It's like in the old, like if you look at like behind the scenes stuff, like when they're shooting those Spider-Man movies, the costumes do look kind of terrible, but they enhance it all and make it look better. Like, but they just skipped that part.
Better
so
or
it looks
worse?
just like somebody went to Joann's and just, I don't know, sewed him together this costume. I don't know.
Better or worse than that? What was that early 90s movie with Billy Zane that took place in like the 1930s?
The Phantom.
The Phantom? Better or worse than that costume? That's a bad costume.
It's a bad costume, but of the time. Like, I don't know that this would have been a bad costume like 10, 15 years ago.
That's what I'm saying. This is 2005 level costume.
Yeah, it's bad.
This plant is so not good.
I want to watch The Phantom.
I saw parts of it when I was young. I don't really remember it. It's purple, right? This suit's purple.
It's purple. Yeah.
I remember a rope bridge.
Rope bridge.
That's about it.
That sounds vaguely familiar.
This plant is so not good. Why are there infinite fireworks in this condemned building?
Yeah. Yeah, why? Why were there fireworks there?
Christmas fireworks in an abandoned building? That's a thing, right?
Christmas fireworks. See, now, 4th of July...
Maybe.
If they're the fireworks for the harbor...
Well, during that section of the script and filming, it was going to be 4th of July, which is why they're in, like, T-shirts and stuff.
But it wouldn't be a condemned building. It would probably be in a warehouse somewhere. Yeah. Semantics.
I knew she had a plan. Bitch, you were in the car when she made the plan.
Oh, right. One of the three amigos yells that out. And I'm like... You agreed to the plan.
Yeah, like it was a shitty plan,
You
but
said-
there was a plan that was given to you all, and you agreed to it.
Just like I was beside myself.
It's 8 a.m. on last Wednesday morning at this point. Oh my god, are they going to pull her out of the water and all do CPR? Fuck me. Remember when I said, oh, hang on a second. I end up responding after one more text from you. But I said, I told you it was a big CPR movie.
Yep.
Chekhov's chest compressions. What happened to her eyes? Is she blind now? Why is her new apartment the Sanctum Sanctorum? Also, how can she afford this? She's got no job.
How do you afford these things, Peter?
My response? Spiders, that's how.
Spiders.
Las Arañas, if you will. Wait, she's also in a wheelchair? Oh, fuck, that was bad. My last bit here was that that was a little more confusing. I think the fireworks blinded her. I guess she fell and broke her spine. That was obvious to me. That was less obvious to me, sorry. And then you said the only good part of this movie was the credits over the the soundtrack over the credits. They played Dreams by the Cranberries.
Yeah. Yeah. Good song. That was a movie,
Wait,
man.
if you want to see me stretch again, I mean, if you really want to stretch it, he's dreaming about his impending death, and she kind of dreams about alternate realities.
I hate you.
You said, oh no. No. I don't think we need the credits disclaimer if this is a work of fiction. Should be more like, this is someone's convoluted acid trip.
Oh, my God.
Thus ends the live tweet of this horrible movie.
That was something. But like we really didn't focus on the three girls who like were the spider people.
Los Orangas.
Obviously, like there's obviously this whole thing about they're basically she's a madam and they're her prostitutes. It's
It makes more sense. Hang on a second. Were you aware in any way, shape, or form, or are you aware now in any way, shape, or form of what this character in the comics was?
Zero context.
I was not aware until this movie was coming out, which I saw people post online. The character in the comics is like an 80-year-old blind wheelchair-bound woman.
Fabulous.
So it makes more sense to call an 80-year-old blind wheelchair-bound woman Madam Web.
Yeah.
Than a 30-something-year-old woman who is possibly kidnapping teenagers of unspecified age.
Yeah. This woman's trying to abduct us.
The is she or is she not kidnapping us thing, I didn't know what to make of that.
Yeah.
It was played for comedy, but was it?
Yeah. Kidnapping's fun.
No, it's fine. I'm helping you guys. Don't worry. Yeah. And I'm going to teach you CPR. It's going to be great. Stockholm.
Exactly. Just put your lips to mine. That's exactly what a kidnapper would say. Oh man, the movie's so bad. I don't want to give this much more time because it doesn't deserve it. Oh, the three girls, the webs, if you will. They all have like power. They're gonna have powers and suits, I guess, at some point.
Maybe
is she gonna bite them? They should have ended it that way. They should have.
Well, also,
that should have been it.
He kept dreaming about a future in which they all have powers and kill him with suits, but then they kill him before any of them have powers. So, will they ever have powers?
What a tangled web we weave, Alessandro.
At no point ever did they ever say or even refer, or even hint or implicate at this. But on the poster, the tagline for this movie was, "Her web connects them all."
Yeah.
That became a meme online when this movie came out. Her web connects them all.
She does it that one time.
Connecting them with a web?
Yeah, where she transports herself into the web sphere and she splits into three different people and saves them all. And then somebody sneezes and she drops all of them. It's not clear how it works. I don't know the science behind it.
Nothing's clear in this movie.
I need you to go. I bet you there's like a sizzle reel of her fiddling with the Pepsi can. I just need you to see that for your own. We don't have to do it right now.
No, I'm going to do it now. Madam Web Pepsi can. Well, I mean, the autocomplete is trying to help me here.
All right.
Top result is Reddit. Does anyone else think Dakota Johnson does not know how to open a can of soda after seeing Madam Web?
Yes, I do. Thank you for saying something.
After seeing Madam Web, my biggest takeaway was that I genuinely think Dakota Johnson does not know how to open a can of soda. In 2 scenes, she's handed a can of soda. Big shout out to Mountain Dew Code Red. And she makes it seem as though she's never come in contact with a can before. For 20 to 30 seconds, she awkwardly holds it, touches the tab cautiously, taps it, rubs it like a genie bottle, rolls it in her palms. I thought it was strange in the hospital scene, but then it's prolonged even further in the barbecue scene. It seemed pretty hot out in that scene. Again, this is supposed to be Christmas. Who is just going to fumble around an ice-cold Pepsi rather than crack that sucker open right away for a refreshing swig? You would think Pepsi paid all that product placement money to have the characters enjoy their product on screen.
Yeah.
There is a video here that says Pepsi defeats bad guy during the Madam Web scene. That's right. Doesn't a Pepsi sign fall on him or whatever?
Oh, yeah. It is a Pepsi sign. I forgot all about that.
There is a YouTube video here that says Madam Web is obsessed with Pepsi product placement. Article on the Daily Beast. Madam Web is one huge, terrible Pepsi commercial.
My God.
I forgot that, again, I was almost falling asleep. I forgot that at the end, because there was there wasn't there Christmas garland up?
Maybe.
Christmas lights?
I believe it.
But yeah, there's a fucking sign that falls on them. I totally forgot it was a Pepsi sign. I didn't, but I almost fell asleep.
Yeah. Going back to the girls again, I'm hung up on this though. The three of them in their suits. Anytime that they showed them, like I guess the future version of them doing fighting, they're like entirely CG, right?
The people or just
the actresses themselves? Yeah. They looked it to me.
Not in every scene, but it's possible in one of them they were.
All right. So there's that, and the other part of it is, I only saw maybe one trailer for this movie. They like very heavily featured those scenes in the trailer, right? Like I feel like I expected them to be a part of the movie as having powers.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like I remember seeing after the movie came out was like, oh my God, they showed every scene that they're in their suits in the trailer. They don't do anything they're for like 90 seconds total.
Okay, cool. So I'm not off base.
So great. I found on TikTok, there's a group of videos people making fun of this. This is definitely a theme. Like you caught on to what was ultimately a meme a few months ago.
Amazing.
There's one. There was a third scene where they're in the hospital and she reaches into a vending machine, grabs a Pepsi. They're walking down the hall and she's just playing with it the whole way.
Yeah. I know. Yep. I got you. I remember this.
There are a lot.
You know what I appreciate? There's the scene where the kid hands her the artwork, like, thanks for saving my mom.
She's like, what do I do with this?
What do I do with this? And Adam Scott is like, you could be a fucking person.
Yes.
Like that's
which again was like, thank you, Adam Scott, for showing up that day for work.
Yeah.
Because that was a vintage straight out of Parks and Rec line delivery. That could have been.
He just turns to the camera and does the head shake that he does.
Couldn't we have just swapped Dakota Johnson out for Aubrey Plaza this whole movie?
Oh.
Wouldn't it have been 1% better?
Might have been.
Maybe 5% even.
They could have just turned it into a straight up comedy.
And even if she played it straight, she would have been less monotone. And she's monotone a lot as April, but like intentionally, not by accident.
Yeah.
And there's other times when she's not monotone because, she can act occasionally.
Yeah.
And couldn't you just see Ben having that exact interaction with April? I don't know. You could try being a fucking person.
Absolutely. My goodness. This movie's done.
It's boring. It's a boring movie.
It's really boring.
Not much happened. There was like 2 times I laughed, which is not enough for how bad this is.
No.
And like, I don't even know that they were always intentional that I should be laughing then. And the couple times they like intentionally were like paused for laughter, I didn't. So
God, it was so painful to watch.
We didn't even get cool action scenes. At least if there was a handful of cool actions, like I know that's not really your thing, but like at least it would have been like a distraction for a minute.
Sure. I'm still caught up on the fact that we didn't do Morbius.
I am too.
I'm blown away by this.
We're not going to. I'm not watching it again.
No. God, no. But really?
Yes, we had plans. It was literally. Episodes. We're going to have to go back and find. I'm going to have to probably go back and listen to the episode before that because we talked about doing it. It was the plan. I sat down and watched the damn movie, and then we didn't do it. And I was like, well, fuck. I fucking just sat down and watched that movie for no reason now.
Wow.
It's bad. Sorry, did you watch it?
Real bad. Yeah.
It's bad.
That's why I thought we did it. Oh, well. Well, that's all for this week's episode of Flix in the Six. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have a movie for us to review or nuggets for us to discuss, you can send those requests to flixinthesix@thespintune.com. Tune in next week for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
And my left contact lens is very dry.
Thanks for coming out. Acolyte at night.
There you go.
I love the name. Fortunately, we are up to date. I know that in the past we've fumbled a bit since the original Mandalorian stuff because it airs the day. It wasn't. Some of those things were airing the day of the show, which it made it hard.
I know there was I think almost every week, basically, like with the Bobus featurette, we were waiting to start recording so that I could finish watching the episode.
Yeah, but the Acolyte. There were 3 episodes deep. We're going to fully talk about the first 3 episodes. That's what our post-credit type things are. So if you haven't seen them or don't want anything spoiled, do not listen to this.
By the time this comes out, ostensibly, you should have had enough time to have watched at least 2 of the 3 episodes.
Yeah, that's right. So what are your first impressions?
I like the show so far. I mean, like,
Same.
it still has to do some work to, like, really be like, oh, this is so great. But, like...
Yeah, but I'm interested.
Yeah, I'm interested. I haven't, like, fallen in love with any or even really all of the characters, but I'm not, like, other than Yord, I'm not, like, fuck all of them. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of just him, and, like, that's intentional.
Wait, other than who?
Isn't it Yord?
I don't know the character
names. The guy who has the Padawan who's weirdly not being taken on the mission with them, who has the spiky hair.
Yord?
Isn't it Yord?
It might be.
It's something like that.
I'm gonna pull it up real quick.
Human Jedi who's recently become a Jedi Knight. Very self...
Oh. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Isn't it?
It's kind of a dick.
Isn't it Yord?
Probably. It's not... I tried pulling it up and it didn't come up. But I'm gonna try this again. Yeah, if we're talking about the same guy, he's a dick.
I mean, Soul's Padawan is just dunking on him, and he's a Jedi Knight, so we're not supposed to like it.
That's true. Hang on. Why didn't... It is Yord. Yord Fandar.
Well, I didn't know his last name, but it was definitely Yord. You don't forget a name like Yord.
Yeah. Don't you? Yeah, you're right. I'm curious. All the characters seem interesting. There's like this thing with, and I get it. Like it's with all this stuff, like especially at this time, a lot of power that the Jedi have, right? So it's like it's like the politics thing, and it's like they're probably not great, but they're just so self-righteous and assholey.
I mean, we definitely got hints of that in the prequels, and this is it may be a touch even heavy-handed for it, but it also understands, like, if this is the High Republic, if this is the height of their powers, wouldn't it be the height of their hubris?
Yeah, for sure. But I like though that Master Soul, he kind of has the vibe of, like, you know, it kind of gives the old Ben vibes, like like a good Jedi.
Well, they're not all useless. It's just the problem is too many of them are too caught up in this, that, and the third. But think about it. There's thousands of Jedi right now. Not just Padawans. I mean, they reference in episode 3 there's thousands of Padawans. There's thousands of Jedi Knights and Masters, like, combined. Some of them are going to be pretty good. Like, some of them are going to be trying to do the right thing. Some of them are going to live to the code that they claim to hold. And the problem is, too many of them, specifically too many of them who are in power, aren't really. They think they are, but they're not.
Yeah. The Indara, we haven't gotten a ton from her yet. Obviously she was like in the first few minutes and is murdered. And then,
shocking way to start the show. It was
right. And then, like,
Game
again
of Thrones-esque.
in this flashback episode, she was in it, but she's kind of just angry. And I'm just like, it's not very Jedi-like. It's just a little bit weird. There's just,
haughty. It's more haughty than anything,
I guess.
Which, again, is, like, in keeping with this whole theme right now.
Yeah. But, I don't know. I'm harping on, like, a couple of, like, little weird little things, but overall, I'm intrigued. Like, I didn't know going in. I mean, I don't really. Then maybe I saw a teaser. I didn't really know anything about it, and I kind of kept a distance because I just kind of wanted to watch it. I had no idea, like, this twin thing was going to be a thing.
Well, that was not revealed. They kept that like that's meant to be a reveal.
The only problem that I had with it, though,
because we saw May in the trailers, but we did not know about Osha.
Okay. Well, the only problem that I had with it, though, was like, it was like this person is killing Jedi, and it's like then we show this character that we assume is the same person, and then they arrest her. It's like, I did not do that, even though her alibi is sketch as hell.
Well, yes and no. On the one hand, it's like, yeah, it's a shitty alibi because she doesn't expect to be interrogated. On the other hand, fuck, you guys have already taken like your leave, like of the whole ship. Just go and ask for the crew logs and like the fucking video. And when you see that the video shows she's clearly on the ship when this person's getting killed, like, come on.
Right.
Like, we have the technology.
The only there's just one little clunky bit, and then I'll stop complaining, which was, my sister's dead, and then Saul is like, her sister's dead, and then she's alive. I know, and I was like, wait, what the? No, you didn't.
Well, it was one of those logical leaps that you make of, well, we have very concretely ruled out that it's not you, and considering everyone is positively IDing you, she's clearly alive.
Surely.
Yeah, you know, like
there's a reason.
We've all taken base level like logic classes in 6th grade math, like, you know, if then.
Yep. But aside from all of that, though, like the timeline is cool. It's not. It doesn't feel, to me, like so far, it doesn't feel different enough for being set back.
There's very, very subtle things. If you look a handful of things, like there's some like screens and buttons and stuff that look like older versions of what we saw in the prequels.
Yeah.
But it's very like subtle background type of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Which is, I mean, is probably accurate for the time frame that they're capturing. It's just like, in my mind, I was like looking forward to like a different aesthetic. Like a more different, but it's not there. But it's fine.
It's recent enough when you consider that the old Republic is like 1,000 years before, and they still have fucking laser swords and like spaceships. Yeah, like it makes sense that it should still be pretty close to what we're used to, but not like 100% one for one. You know?
Yeah, no, that's true. But the story of the two girls, like, is that this third episode I thought was like super interesting. Like this is what hooked me. Is like, okay, like they are they're force babies, right? Or thread babies. What do they call?
They pull the thread. Emphasizing the thread thing, but
they're force babies.
They're using the force.
They were manufactured by the force, and like that. This concept is interesting, and like the implications of that are interesting.
Well, but to be fair, though, they didn't give an explanation.
Yeah.
But there's probably something more in the sense of... Because I already saw online, like, oh... And it's, you know, it's a clickbaity thing, but it was like, oh, like, this changes everything about Anakin Skywalker. And it's like, no, it doesn't. The whole point was that was allegedly... It's supposed to be like the Jesus virgin birth thing, which is just like the all-consuming power of the Force just made it so. I suspect, considering we're talking about a coven of witches that uses the dark side, a lot like the Night Sisters, this was done with intent. Like, a person used the Force actively to do this, versus the implication of Anakin being that the Force just willed it, not because anyone specifically wanted it necessarily.
It was just time.
It happened because there was a need in the Force, I guess.
Yeah. But so far the choreography is really good. Like I love like the hand-to-hand combat is really cool. Like the restraint on even turning the lightsaber on is cool because it makes it have that much more weight when it is powered on.
Yeah, and I suspect we'll get a lot more of it later in the series.
I think so. Yeah.
I think they're playing coy and teasing with us
for sure. But the now that we're starting to get into the backstory of the two sisters. Like the intrigue is now really building for me.
Well, especially there is this, you know, her perspective, and the truth. Because on the one side, May is like 100% convinced that the two of them are this perfect match twin situation. And there's Osha who wants to reject it categorically. And the truth probably is somewhere in the middle between those things. There's ties that Osha is trying to reject that are important to her. And May is not understanding that everything isn't as pie in the sky as she thought perfect. That there are real and obvious differences in their thoughts and opinions and feelings on things.
Yeah. It's interesting. Here's one thing I was curious about. Has anybody in the mod, like the current timeline of the show, not the past timeline, the current like event, so episodes 1 and 2, has anybody seen both of them at the same time?
Didn't someone see her shoot the stun gun and miss?
It was already gone when he's there.
Okay.
The ship has already driven away.
I couldn't remember.
It was Sol.
Yeah,
Sol?
Sol. I think it's literally SOL, like the sun in Latin or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like I don't think he actually sees the two of them. I'm curious. I feel like they're intentionally like playing around with that.
I understand why you're saying that, and like that, I've thought it too. And while no one has seen both of them exactly together, Jord does follow her when Torben dies.
He follows her and finds that he's dead. She finds that he's dead already, but before that, like the timing of him actually taking the poison and dying isn't necessarily right before that happened. I don't know.
It seemed like it was supposed to be
something's up.
It seemed like it was supposed to be bang bang, and like they kind of intimated, like, oh, his body's warm type of thing. You know what I mean? Like where like he like couldn't have been dead for more than 5 minutes type of thing. I thought I'd have to go back and comb through it to find out if there's a single time that they're both on screen with someone else witnessing it. But
yeah, I'm just curious if that'll play if that ends up becoming a thing. That I feel like I've noticed that, but I don't know if it's true or not.
It's definitely intentional that there's supposed to be these constant misconnections. But
keep that little level of doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great scene
because to me actually the question I had during the scene when she fires the blaster is, did she miss on purpose? That was the only real question I had. I thought
that too. Yeah, but then it just like tied into the fact that I was like, did anybody else see her drive away? Like, does anybody of our main group of characters that are aware of the twins? So I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see how it plays out. I really liked when she was attacking Torben and like the way that they did the force field around him.
It was like miming.
That was really cool.
Yeah. Also, this is the first time we've seen this sort of thing, and I guess that was basically force purgatory. Like,
I guess
because he was like, I suppose a Jedi wouldn't. I don't want to say be able to, because that's not the right word, but like ever make the move to like sacrificially like kill themselves, and he's clearly doing this as a form of like punishment / atonement, right? And it's an interesting thing. Like
they say he was like in there for 10 years, right? Isn't that what they said?
Yeah, because the events of was it 14 years earlier or something like that? So clearly he became a Jedi Knight, and then has been doing this for several years, whatever the number was. But it's a crazy thing. He's just floating via the Force perpetually for years. And like, as soon as she breaks through to him to talk to him about it, like he willingly allows himself to be killed or whatever. And like, so like, I kind of viewed that as like a praying for forgiveness, final judgment sort of thing.
Yeah, I get that. And if correct me if I'm wrong, but in the final sequence of the third episode, after all hell broke loose, his face is scarred now, right? Like that happened, I guess, during whatever. I'm assuming we're gonna see more, but he was like kind of in the shadows, but he looked like he had some blood like along his face.
He's scarred when we saw him in the present day timeline. Right. I didn't really catch a good look of his face on the ship when they left. You see, Soul is scratched up.
He wasn't. Yeah. Soul scratched because he wasn't scarred when they went to talk to the witches.
No, I don't think so.
And then, but I think after like the whole facility,
and like he's all clean shaven. He's got the braid, the Padawan braid. But then we see him later. He's got this full beard.
Yeah. Huh.
Well, yeah, he had like the scar over his eye type of thing, right?
Yeah, I think it was through his eye.
Yeah,
his eye is messed. Is messed up.
I think we're gonna get another flashback. Because I know, like I talked about it with Dominic and some of his friends, and they were frustrated with like like I think everyone was kind of on board. Like it was kind of cool to start it with that way, and it's like shocking to have Indara die. But I was like, there's no way we don't see her again. I don't, and like we got a couple of flashbacks here. A whole flashback episode. I suspect we will see their perspective on confronting the Coven because we need to hear that story.
Yeah, for sure. Because that's going to be interesting.
May thinks that they just murdered everyone, and OSHA thinks that the explosion killed everyone. We're going to, of course, find the truth lies somewhere in the middle, right? So
I was confused by that, though, because I was like, it seemed to me like May killed them all.
Well, that's what you're supposed to think.
Yeah.
But May, of course, doesn't take responsibility for her action. She thinks they came through and just fucking wiped everyone out.
Right. Yeah, okay. So
I suspect we're going to find out that the fire happens, someone loses their cool, because we saw it twice. Sol almost loses his cool, and Torben almost loses his cool when they're having the first conversation. Something's going to happen. Someone's going to lose their cool, and then it's going to be they got to kill everyone because they can't get the situation back under control. That's what's going to end up happening.
Yeah, that tracks. I think that makes sense. I'm excited to see more. It's a very enjoyable watch. It's a quick watch.
Yeah, the first episode was a little longer than the other two, but I'm surprised how short the episodes have been overall.
Yeah. But so far it's like well done enough. Like it's nothing groundbreaking yet. I could see like they could still do some pretty great stuff and make this catapult the show up. But right now it's just good. It's just a fun watch.
Well, I was a little surprised how they chose to structure these first 3 episodes, where they had a full 100% flashback episode after the first 2, like totally breaking like the narrative arc for a minute. Like the episode on its own was good, but it like stopped the plot. I was a little surprised they didn't choose to kind of mete out the flashback as they went. Like once you find out that they're twins for sure, like in the first episode, I would have thought maybe you'd kick off and like kind of slow burn the flashbacks to tie it together a little bit. Like I don't know 100% that this was like the right or wrong way to do it, but it is a bit of a gamble to like you get some sense of momentum the first 2 episodes and you tease the next target, and then you have a whole episode that totally ignores that storyline entirely. And so now 2 weeks after teasing it, then we're going to get some follow up on the Kelnaka storyline.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's the right way to do that. Like it's kind of a quibble, but it's like not the end of the world.
Yeah, I'm with you though. It's a little disorienting.
Like I would have cut an episode out of the episode count. I wouldn't have cut any of the content, but I would have kind of parsed it out between what happens on the main timeline of the first episode, second episode, and the third episode,
Yeah, definitely. But I guess we'll see how this plays out.
Do you want to do any theories?
How many episodes are there?
I think 8.
8, okay. Yeah, we could do theories.
You want to do any theories? Because
I don't really have a ton right now. My only theory right now is kind of it's like maybe a minor suspicion is that there aren't 2 of them anymore. And that it's like whether it be a split personality or some sort of forced projection or something, like she goes somewhere else.
For a second, I wondered if it was gonna be that OSHA really died and May was OSHA. Like that there was kind of a change.
Oh, that's not a bad. That's not like, and then they started training May and then realized, you're dark, and then because we stop training her.
We talk about the fact that she leaves the order because she never gets her grief under control, but I don't think that's actually what's going on based on what we've seen in this episode. Yeah. But for a minute early on, I wondered if that was going to be the way it goes. I have kind of 2 theories that are. It can only be one or the other, but there's a lot of overlap to them. I think the person in the helmet is Manny Jacinto.
I don't know who that is.
Didn't you watch The Good Place?
The Good Place, yeah. I did.
May's partner in the second episode. The guy from The Good Place.
Oh, first off, it didn't even
You didn't
dawned on
recognize
me
him?
that was him.
Oh, okay.
That's really funny.
I assumed you would have recognized him.
No, I didn't
you watched the
recognize
show.
him.
I didn't.
Now I know. Now I know who you're talking about. What a great character in The Good Place. Okay,
That's my theory, that he's the person in the helmet.
he's pulling the strings.
Well, because they play off that he's like this kind of bumbling, gross underworld type of character.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, whatever. Like they're kind of using him for some light comedic effect, and he's probably capable of doing that. And maybe that's enough. We'll see how big that role for the show goes. Although so far we've not really seen much. He's only in the second episode so far. But he's a pretty big actor to show up for those 2 scenes.
Mm.
And the character in the helmet is humanoid. They don't seem very physically imposing. It could be a man or a woman.
Mm.
And at first he doesn't seem super interested in what's going on, but then when Osha is trying to infiltrate and find out what's going on, pretending to be May, he lets on that he knows an awful lot about what's going on.
Mm.
And she was making a big deal about how she has to find a way to kill without weapons. At the end of the first episode, they lay out, I know some people probably found that line a little bit corny, and it's a hair corny, but the whole thing about you don't attack them with a laser or a blade, you attack the idea. It's the organizing principle of the show. It's why the Sith during this period of time are allowed to exist and why ultimately Palpatine wins, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way that you attack them is not by brute force, it's by blinding them, trapping them, and killing the whole point of what they stand for, right?
Yeah.
Jedi are supposed to be about peace.
It's the slow blade. Wait.
No, they're supposed to be about peace and love and compassion and all that stuff. They're supposed to be peacekeepers. And they end up getting dragged into being generals in a war. It's not what the Jedi are. They destroy the concept of the Jedi. They essentially fuck their minds over the course.
They just troll them.
Yeah, until
they troll them into burning everything to the ground.
Until they're no longer what they purport to be. And they're already on their way towards doing that, and they're just accelerating that process.
Yeah.
And he goes...
That's not a bad theory.
He goes from not really seeming like he's taking any of it too seriously to when he's talking to Osha saying, oh, your master will be very pleased. And he seems excited by the principle that she might have succeeded in finding a way to kill a Jedi without a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here is where my theory splits into one of potentially 2 ways. The title of the show is The Acolyte.
Mm-hmm.
There's always been a little bit of gray area in this, right? We have the rule of 2. Master and apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
That's not actually 100% true, right? The Sith have always had minions. Even when there's a full-blown master and apprentice, there's always been minions. Look at the Inquisitorius. You have the Master Palpatine, you have the apprentice and Darth Vader, and then there's a whole slew of dark side of the Force wielding people who work for Vader. It's not a secret. Palpatine is fully aware that he's got the Inquisitorius. He fully supports the use of that to hunt down the Jedi. But they're cultivating potential replacements. A replacement either to Vader or a replacement to Palpatine. Meaning, Vader could kill Palpatine and elevate one of them to his apprentice if he so choose, if he felt that one of those people was going to do that. So, if we hold that in this theory, Manny Jacinto is the character in the helmet, is he a master looking for an apprentice? Or is he an apprentice looking for someone to help him kill his master or her master? So, is this the beginning of a master and apprentice of this Darth whomever recruiting their underling in May? Or is this someone trying to elevate or use May as a weapon against their own master?
Interesting.
But ultimately, I think that person in the helmet, my theory at the moment, is that it's Manny Jacinto.
Okay.
Now, I'm not going to try and get too crazy with it. Like, if it doesn't end up being that, it's okay. Good. As long as what they give me is a good story.
I think with what we've got so far, I think that's that's a reasonable theory.
Yeah, we don't have a ton of information, but there's enough there that makes me wonder about it,
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of want to rewatch the episode. I'm looking up something real quick. There's something... Indara has like this is like a weird, so maybe just a weird choice, but she has like a mole on like the side of her face, like right by her eyeball.
Does she? I don't know.
Am I crazy? I thought I saw that, and then I was like, wait, I don't think Carrie Ann Moss has that on her face, and I was like, why is it on her face? And I feel like if it's there, it's got to be there for a reason. Unless it was just like something stuck to her face in the scene, and I just clocked it that way.
Let me see if I can find a picture of her. I feel like doesn't she have some sort of mole on her face in real life?
Maybe she does, and I've never noticed it. I just feel like it was like very pronounced.
No, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, it's very pronounced in the show, and I've never noticed it before. I'm gonna send you a picture, and it's actually two, one right next to the other.
Is this like a Tatooine twin sons thing? Just
like the twins.
But yeah, I and also as part of my whole theory, I don't think that May knows that he's if he's her quote unquote master.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think so either. If he is more than he seems, I don't think she's aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see more. I'm really curious. I'm just curious now. Like I want to know. I want to see what the story goes.
Yeah. No, there's enough here to be intrigued. Like it's not been perfect, but there's enough interesting things going on. There's enough interesting moments here to at least want to see where the thread goes.
I just want a Star Wars movie, Al.
We're still
I want a Star Wars.
At least 18 months away.
I know.
Probably 2 years away.
Know. All right.
Well, they gotta start physically shooting the Old Republic, or not the Old Republic, the Dawn of the Jedi thing. Like they're moving towards it, but they gotta actually start shooting.
Yeah. Well, more on the Acolyte next week.
Yes.
All right.